Hello spirits, so the time has come to celebrate the end of the 9 Realms, and what better way with my first ever compilation video starting every season of the 9 Realms. However, that's not the only reason why I'm compiling all of this. Actually, I wanted to show from how I started to how it's going. I won't repeat everything I said in my past 2 videos, but I've changed a lot, including my voice range, editing, and script writing. And you'll see how I figure out and continue to figure out what works for me and what I try to do different from others. Also, this video is being posted on the same day my first ever review and 9 Rounds video was released, marking today my 2nd year officially here on YouTube, or more specifically when I began to review things. So without further ado, Dragons and 9 Realms entire review collection. Hello spirits, so this is a new type of content I wanted to try, reviewing. Trust me, this won't be permanent, but this was something I wanted to get out of my system. Cause I am a massive How to Train a Dragon fan. Let's begin. Actually, hold up a sec. Do not expect me to say, oh, this show is good, you should go watch it. I'm someone who dislikes this show a lot. But just on that, do not get me wrong, I know that animated spin-off shows aren't supposed to be given the same amount of funding a movie is given. But this show looks so much worse than any of the shows before that DreamWorks have made. Now, I loved these shows as a kid. Their animation wasn't always the best, but that was understandable. These were back in the 2010s. However, this show was in 2021. A time when animated shows should be made to be spectacular. Then the stepping stones in the earlier years of animation. Tangent over. Dragons of the 9 Realms is a spin-off to the popular franchise How to Train a Dragon. It's set 1,300 years in the future, aka the modern era. And you would think with the amazing concept that the name gives off, it would be very cool, but DreamWorks did an absolutely bad job at conveying that concept. Now, before I begin shitting on the show, what do I actually like about it? Well, the dragons' designs. So, a lot of them are clearly just rip-offs, but the mixture of colours, the abilities is alright since I can recognise what dragons are in their species. Despite there being clear of what characters they're based on, such as Toothless, Meatlug, Stormfly, Barf and Belch, but I would still have liked more original designs and abilities. A little bit of the story. If you're going to see the other realms, then it would be interesting to see if they would ever incorporate new dragon designs, like what they did in the previous spin-offs. Now, that I've got all the things I like out of the way, it's time to discuss the flaws of this show, and the differences of the spin-off shows that were made years ago. I did not care for the animation. It was similar to its other shows, but I just don't care for it. I had hoped that they would put more budget into its animation to make it look better, considering the concept looked good on paper probably. So while the show can be good for its writing...
You remember my June bug, don't you?
You two were so cute together when you were 6.
June? Yeah? Yeah.
Some don't have that and have to rely on the animation to help make it more appealing. And so the rating can be raised to something a little more acceptable to the studio. This, however, was not greeted with open arms, especially when the trailer was released. Now, you might be wondering, why am I saying it wasn't well liked without proof? This is all you need. It got a 3.8, and while you would think that isn't all bad for a show, its successors had all gotten 4.9s as of this current day. All are praised just the same and all have flaws people don't excuse. Alright, so this was the most disappointing part about this show. Back in 2010 when How to Train a Dragon was first released, one of the most memorable scenes in DreamWorks history was the first introduction to Toothless. For short, Toothless was first shown to attack parts of Burke, but never take food. No one had ever shot him down, except for Hiccup. Time passed, and after Hiccup found him and wanted to kill him, he had saw he was going to accept his death, but after seeing this, he would free him. He left Hiccup with a warning, and again, time passed, and he gained his trust through food. Now, this is the funny part about this show. In the 9 rounds, we see Thunder, the dragon, sweeping through the clouds in the fissure, below with lightning covering around him, which soon followed was an earthquake that covers the dragon in rock. Hours later, Tom looks for it with his drone, but Thunder shocks it, so he goes down to get his drone. Soon finds him in the rubble and helps him. Tom falls, saves himself, yada yada yada. Dragon circles around him, and in episode 2, Thunder saves him and helps Tom get out of the fissure. Oh, and later in the episode, he helps him gain his trust through food. Yeah, I said it. Each of the characters are quite boring, their designs are bland, and the obvious personality takes on the characters are very resemblant of the original. Now, these designs do not feel like a How to Train a Dragon property. They're lazy. They don't have any specific small features that make them unique. Except Philip Baker, none have distinct features about themselves. Tom was just as everyone expected in the trailer. When the final scene of episode 6 came along, Thunder shocks the wall that reveals a mark that resembles that of Tom's Viking helmet, making it clear that Tom is a descendant of Hiccup, as well as Thunder being a descendant to Toothless. Which, wow, was a major shocker, even though he had linked himself back to being part of a Viking bloodline for absolutely no reason in episode 1.
We don't ask for permission. We don't care what other people think. We crave adventure.
His entire personality is just being disobedient and adventurous. Basically a thick skull kid who doesn't listen to their parents and doesn't think of the consequences. John, I hope I'm saying that right, is the love interest for Tom. And do you want to take a guess who she resembles? Come on, I'll give you a guess. Astrid. Astrid? Yes, Astrid. Now, you might be thinking, she doesn't resemble her design in the slightest. But there is something that resembles her. She has the exact same trope tied in with her and the main protagonist.
Ow!
That's for scaring me to death.
But what about everything else?
So,
Now, does that look familiar? Where have I seen that before?
That's for kidnapping me. That's for everything else. That's for scaring me.
What? Was it always gonna be this way? Because I could get used to it.
I told you it was in here.
Still doing that one. That's hilarious. Come here, you. Oh, how dare you! That is a low blow. No, you are not getting away. Ah, okay, you win. Trust me, relationships are nothing but pain and misery. What did I...
Oh, and her whole personality thing is linking back to the stars and all that.
yeah, it was in the stars. I read your astrological chart. I was just curious. It doesn't mean anything.
Guess you're still the girl who's into everything magical.
It's not magic, but yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's not very exciting. D'Angelo. Oh boy. Think of this guy as military fish legs. Why do I say that? Well, he's flying a dragon that looks like Meatlug. And he's also the anxious character of the four, which is one of Fishleg's main personality traits. Alexander kind of reminds me of the twins. While she doesn't quite match that personality of either character since they're more loony and dumb. She is quite smart and shows us plenty of times throughout the show.
I don't want you to get busted.
Just hand me the phone before I change my mind.
In the first episode, she showed one of her two personalities. An anxious, don't want to socialize introvert and an over-the-top extrovert. Now, this woman, not a part of the main cast-ish. Now, she has a very strict personality to her, but has a design similar to of Kofi. For those unaware, she was the village healer and the marriage officiant, and she had some strict and comedic moments to her. This character is called May, and her entire thing is being strict and big hat. Each show had amazing writing, kept the designs very close to the originals, which showed in-betweens in their designs to show the time gap, and even had an original story. Each show was amazing in their own way. That doesn't mean they didn't have flaws, but while they did have their bad moments, they showed characters snapping, introducing us to characters who originally didn't have much to offer in the movies, since it wasn't directed to them. The main antagonist for this show was looking like an actual dragon, which had a very similar ability to of the whispering and screaming death. Like, they didn't even do a good villain. It was a tunneling dragon who caused the earthquakes, while the villains for each show were these. And they introduced new dragons never seen before, either on the ally or enemy side. The show really isn't worth watching. I mean, you can pirate the show, which is what I did to actually review this. No. As I said earlier, buy it from Hulu. I'm not being forced to say this. Anyways, during the 6 episodes, I found things very predictable. I found myself cringing at the animation, and I don't think I laughed or even cracked a smile during the entire thing. Like, I can't even remember if they had jokes, because one of the things they kept mentioning was the polar bear incident.
The last time I saw you, you jumped into the polar bear habitat at the zoo. What a ruckus.
Are like infamous. He climbed into a polar bear habitat when he was 5.
I think we were both hoping that Tom had matured beyond the swimming with polar bears phase of his development.
Which really didn't need to be mentioned more than once. They also didn't have any emotional or touching moments in the show. I think they had a few, but it really wasn't good compared to the other moments in the movies and spin-offs.
What you did back there, pretty stupid. But pretty brave, too. You gotta understand, that fissure is dangerous, son. No one knows how deep that thing is. If you fell in, you might never hit the bottom.
Anyways, thanks for watching all. I know this is different content, because I don't really do anything else, but it's something I wanted to say since people were saying that this show was actually really good, when it really wasn't. Thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoyed. Hello spirits, back in January I posted my take on the recent DreamWorks series, Dragons of the Nine Realms. What this video is basically adding information I didn't say or forgot to record, and instead added other ideas and opinions of mine to the lovely comments some of you gave me, and to some who didn't. Without further ado, so comments like these I was expecting, and they were one of the first few comments. Hate comments. These are from people who love the show and hated how I actually lit it up and burned it. But there were two types of people who did this: hateful comments and respectful comments. These were people who respected my opinion or said they liked the show in a respective way. And I give you fellas a thumbs up for your honesty and kindness, unlike a few who just bluntly put their opinions there. I expressed multiple times in the comments that I wouldn't mind the show continuing, but only on the exception that they improved everything wrong with the show to give it the 4.9 stars each show got. Because I hate the current state of the show with a burning passion. The internet hated the show and embodied what DreamWorks says to its shows compared to its movies.
Is it weird that all
all these kids look like our classmates?
Not on our show's budget.
Let's use Hell of a Boss for an example. The pilot had cutaways into more cutaways, and the pacing was horrid. The animation wasn't as good at times, and they didn't have a clear picture of the future, while Hazbin Hotel was a lot more different. But, as episode 1 opens, we were greeted with amazing fluent animation with composition, giving the characters arcs and growths as the episodes passed, and showing more world building Hazbin Hotel could ever do. And that was because it was given a bigger budget due to the merge they had sold with the release of the both pilots, sparking 2 different communities. So saying 9 rounds should return, but improved, is something that needs to be emphasized on the DreamWorks, because if the budgets are not the same, or more than the original, then the show will flop. And it did. If you're confused, these shows were put in between the first and second movies. Defenders/Riders was right after the first movie, and this shows with his appearance barely changing to signify not much time has passed. And Race to the Edge following after that, with his design being almost the same as the second films, which in turn shows we're close to the second film's movie time setting. Now what the show should have been was a show after the second film. This would have been able to show more characters and dragons than in the shows beforehand. For the examples I'll be showing are the deleted scenes for the third film. One of which is the dragons on Berk. They're overrun with dragons, but we don't get a clear picture of where they came from. Yeah, Hiccup's crew rescued them, but that's about it. The show could have shown some of these adventures being played out, but didn't. Another could have been the relationship between Valka and Astrid. In a deleted scene, they get along quite well and talk about marriage and them and their spouses being different at first. But in all the forms of media, they never share a scene like this ever again, which goes to show the content they missed. Oh, now this is a good one. This was pointed out by the user Evelyn. Now, June is of Chinese descendants. Maybe may, but I will not assume so. But it's the fact that DreamWorks did not only design a lazy villain design, but thought assigning the Chinese dragon to a Chinese character just feels so fucking lazy. They had a chance to make an entirely original dragon. A fire and water dragon isn't really a bad concept, but they could have given it a different design rather than the Chinese cultural dragons. That's all I have to say in this follow-up. It was fun writing and recording another video like this. And I have to say thank you for those who enjoyed that video. While I don't consider it to have blown up, but I am proud I hit a milestone that big by my own hands. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed.
What? No! No! No!
Hello spirits, so this video wasn't actually supposed to happen. I was fully aware of the 9 rounds, but I wasn't going to make a video because, My reasoning was understandable, yet here I am. Here we go, another god-awful season of a god-awful show. Without further ado, wait, before you skip this is about my commissions. I'll be quick. Currently, they're open, and I am even showcasing a new type of commission, paintings. I can draw characters you have, characters belonging to others, or even fan art of characters you like. Here are some examples if my style piques your interest, and prices are as listed. Any funds/donations go to an account meant for restoring equipment for art, such as if my iPad breaks down, which I feel is very close, to renewing subscriptions so I can make more of these types of videos, and in the future, comic or animated projects. But that's not for a very, very long time. And of course, some exceptions are in play, but if you're interested, you can contact one of my 5 social platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, or Discord. Currently, I have set up a Kofi account, and a new PayPal. Thanks for hearing me out, on with the video. Dragons to 9 Realms is set 1,300 years in the future of the events of the last movie. The show focuses on 4 kids learning the existence of dragons: Tom, June, Alex, and D'Angelo with their new original dragons. They have to hide theirs and other dragons from their parents to avoid them going extinct, or use as weapons. Tom is the main protagonist. He's an adventurous kid who makes his own rules. He's also the descendant of Hiccup. June is a love interest, her entire character is being an encyclopedia for history and myths. Alex is the shy hacker of the group. And in season 2, she's a lot more sassy. D'Angelo is the medic. Fans have expressed their anger, including breaking the perfect rating score each show got, and yet DreamWorks didn't listen. Now, if you're new to my channel and didn't see me talk about this show before, I'll give you a quick rundown of why this show is as bad people make it out to be. And so you won't watch that because the audio could have been mixed better and recorded better. Don't watch it. The animation in this show is very, well, low budgeted. Even in the season 2 trailer, you can see that they didn't give the show the proper budget it needed to even thrive. And before you say, but Spirit show's budgets are supposed to be low, thanks Sherlock, but here's a reverse card for you. Season 1 had 6 episodes, season 2 had 7. Tell me their excuse for a lower budget show. The writing in this show is also horrendous. There are barely any attempts at humour. The conversations between characters can feel forced. Remember that thing How to Train Your Dragon succeeded in? The bad guys did it better. Fucking hell, this story is the generic hide dragons from people, which is what the first movie did for like an hour, and season 2 has it worse. If you think this show couldn't get any worse, the tropes, the characters, they're the exact same. You would think I'm kidding, but adventurous lead, tsundere female protagonist, even the dragons are the fucking same. Just fusions and inbreds of the originals, and cultural backgrounds being their dragon. And that sums it up. Wait, you're not convinced yet? Well then, here's season 2 for you 9-realm loving motherfucker. Alright, so I left a small segment dedicated to this last time, at least I think, and if I didn't convey that well enough, I will here. My reasoning for seeing it as a disgrace for the new era for animation isn't because its writing is bad or there aren't a lot of jokes, it was because it looks like it was made years ago, like before their other shows. It looks old and well, stiff. Unlike the many shows before and after, they have either amazing animation or something better in comparison where this is newer, company and indie alike. Let's take a few examples, or slash a few personal favourites. In this new era of animation, we've had shows like Arcane, The Owl House, Hell of a Boss, Lackadaisy, and all of them so far have shown amazing works of animation, and all of them falling under the 2020 era of animation. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just their animation that they excel at, it can be writing, it can be the story, it can be the characters. But we're still in the age that where, unfortunately, studios didn't get the memo that you actually need to try in your shows. And DreamWorks and their TV shows are a prime example. They do not put effort into their shows, or at the very least, they don't give the teams a big enough budget. Their past shows have joked about this, but DreamWorks doesn't act on it. But that's why I see 9 Realms as a disgrace. They're living in the past while others move on. And with that out of the way, onto the actual show itself. And here you'll see why it's even worse than a disgrace. Anything that was good. This show Downward's very core is just so mundane and boring. Oh, sorry, things I liked. Yeah, I got nothing. You'll understand why soon enough. Now, on the surface, there are a lot of visible problems, but underneath it, there are actually a lot more. One to name is something I probably did say in both videos, and that was, this show had a short runtime, but I forgot to add something onto that. You know when shows have little episodes, right? This allows more funding to go directly to the animation, writing and whatnot. And with that, it helps convey a lot of lore, story, without any filler. However, with 9 Realms, they do it far more lazier. Its animation is outdated, the writing is bad, the story is predictable, and more than half the episodes are filler. But does season 2 fix this? No, it doesn't. So none of a direct story that involves all of the characters. The last 3 episodes are the only story-driven episodes. Episode 1 is about June finding a unicorn dragon and keeping it. Episode 2 is where Tom's mother almost finds the hidden world while the others block up the entrance. Episode 3 is about zombie-looking dragons and Alex overcoming her anxiety. Episode 4 is about a forest fire started by a greedy villain. Episode 5 is about spider dragons, as well as Tom and D'Angelo fighting, but soon making up. And the 2-part finale is about finding Thunder, which had a dragon that chased away his family, and then finding an entirely new area to explore. Oh, you don't see what I mean. Oh, alright. Well, I'll go into depth about one of the episodes then. I didn't go into full detail because I hate this show, and something I left out was, in the first episode, Tom is experiencing trauma from fighting the Vault Ripper. Regardless of his adventures, he came close to death fighting a creature no one's seen in 1,300 years. They couldn't have fucked it up, right? I kid you not, all it took was a single response from June that he's been thinking about it all day. A single line fixes his trauma in a snap. Stranger Things handles this better. As you just heard from that was originally what I was going to go with. Only you want to know what the problem was? I came to discover he was more guilty about shooting it in the face. I'm sorry, that's what gave him nightmares. Guess the little Tom response to June makes sense. It's fucking pathetic. This one's obvious, but DreamWorks are just so fucking lazy. I'm not even kidding. And it's not even just old fusion dragons they've copied. Here's a list of the main dragons they had. Also, I'm not fucked to find it, but they actually had the Terrible Terror back. He hasn't evolved, he hasn't gotten bigger or smaller, he's just there. I do not understand this fucking logic. Can someone explain it?
We're gonna have a good time.
A unicorn dragon, which, FYI, was a fucking reskin from the lovable show Rescue Rangers. I'm joking if you couldn't tell. Wait. This got a 3rd season?
When we're dancing.
The Magma Breather. I actually don't mind this dragon. Hardened Lava Breath isn't something I've heard of in universe, I think. Especially at the rate he did it at. Aggressive, molting feather wings. Making them look like zombies. The shedding isn't actually bad, but you couldn't have done a new species. This is literally just a Scoldron. He actually has a name, but I'm not fucked to find it. Spider wings. Are you fucking... Actually, this is a cool concept. Wow, something original. They really bring back the fucking Razor Whip? How is there a Skrill? I can't even draw dragons as well, and yet I could write better powers. DreamWorks had an infinite amount of powers, abilities, designs to play with, and yet they just reskin or fuse a few existing. What's next? Oh right! Just when you thought they were done, they pulled Bugs Life's worst mistake. But they did it worse. The well-loved lie trope. For a little context, old chum, episode 5, 6, and 7 had the, I'm not even kidding, had the worst case of this trope, which for some reason pisses off this cast of characters. Hey, do you want to know the lie? The dark, terrible secret! Tom lied about his connection to Thunder and the helmet. Yeah, I'm sorry, what are you fucking morons mad about? DreamWorks literally just said that friends don't keep secrets. Can't keep secrets.
Whiskey, baby, I sure had so much wine. I can guarantee when you're with me, we're gonna have a...
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. How is this the most predictable plot/story I have ever seen? The so-called reveals were visible from the trailer alone. So, it is visible from fucking space. From the season 1 trailer alone, we already knew that Thunder is Toothless' descendant, Tom is Hiccup's descendant. And in the Spider episode, they mentioned Tom's dad left him and his mother, and then in the finale, they find a spearhead with the same symbol that Thunder made. So there are 3 theories in play here. His dad either left to the Dragon World, got taken to the Dragon World, or has nothing to do with it. But seeing as they're reusing plots, tropes and species, I don't doubt he'd make an appearance.
Can you imagine what I saw when I was walking long ago on a lonely street?
Alright, so this was the most disappointing blow to the franchise. You know how there's genuinely a villain in the spin-off shows? They're not the main bad guy, but they appear enough time to leave an impression. Well, the 9 Rounds did this, but they set up a future antagonist of the show. An amazing, well thought, it's their bootleg rendition of Dagger. Fucking, remember when dragons had good villains in their movies and shows? Yeah, this is Leonard. Oh, I'm sorry, what am I saying? He prefers to be called Buzzsaw. Fucking what? Wanna know his character? He's basically someone who cuts down trees, plain stupid, and he sees a Thunderbird, then swears revenge. While we're on the topic, I need to talk about any potential new characters. Just like Leonard here, there was actually a new character called Eugene. If you've watched the show already, you know where I'm going with this. His entire character is being a mama's boy who acts good in front of everyone. Only everyone but May knows his true character. But do you want to know how crucial he is to the plot? The overarching relevance? If he didn't exist, nothing would change. He is literally just filler. This just shows how the writing holds up. Want to know what I'm talking about next?
Legs were moving to the beat, his tail was long, his body strong, and I began to dance along.
It is somehow even worse than the first season. I still can't tell if there are any jokes in this show, because for some reason, this is the quality funny.
Who'd throw away a perfectly good sneaker? Linda.
And that's not even the worst of it. There are no emotional moments, no scenes that reflect on the characters. Remember when Stoic fucking disowned Hiccup?
You're not my son. Ready to shift!
Yeah, you don't get that. And let's end on a high note. Why is this shit called the 9 Realms if you won't show other realms? The bullshit you see are just different parts of the crystal area. Actually fucking travel to another realm, you sons of bitch. This show is a mess, a train wreck, a quick cash grab that could have been better utilized with the original cast. But in summary, do not watch the clips, do not watch it on Peacock or Hulu. This show is utter garbage. Do not support it in any way. It's the only way DreamWorks will actually listen. After the release of 9 Realms Season 3, a troubling thought had occurred to me. The past shows have gotten around 4 to 6 seasons, and if each season so far in the 9 Realms discovers a new realm after each one, this being Season 1 found a Crystal Realm, Season 2's finale had the Fire Realm, and Season 3's finale had the Ice Realm. Would that mean this hot garbage will get 9 seasons? Lord have mercy on us all.
Don't say it! Don't you say it! Left. Come on!
Hello spirits, before I begin, if I do sound like I'm sick, it's because I have a cold. But to continue, recently it was announced that the 9 Rounds actually got a Season 3. And a lot of what was in the trailer seemed lazy as it can be. And you'll hear why soon enough. Without further ado. The 9 Rounds focuses on 4 characters, Tom, June, Alex and Delangelo, travelling through a new realm, with new armour, meeting new dragons, while multitasking to keep dragons hidden from the people inside and outside of Icarus.
And I'll be right back. Okay.
Personally, there is nothing to like about this show. You might think this is a ha psych, gotcha! But no, just take my word. As you just heard from the lovely list of positives and how much of the video is left, you can assume that this video is going to be nothing but negative. Oh boy! Dragon suits were introduced in the third film in the trilogy, and I assume this was the case because Velka having dragon armor in the second film. But in 9 Rounds fashion, stealing ideas from their popular and less popular medias, they just had to include the dragon suits in the most unoriginal way. Something I should mention is the worst thing about these suits isn't that they were added, it's that there is no variety between the suits. Much less do they even make sense for their colours. Now, I don't like these inbred designs regardless, and even if they are in-inspired rip-offs from the originals, every fucking suit is all black with different colours. Where, get this, some represent their design colours and some not even making sense, but they're all the same. So that there was no way you could have given the corresponding scale colour to each rider. You know, you just had to copy a little more of the film's homework.
Hey man, can I copy your homework? Huh? Can I copy your homework?
No, you can't copy my homework! Darius
What I'm about to say has absolutely no confirmation, but I feel like some users can agree I've hit the head on the nail here. Now, in episode 1, the Fire Realm gave us the return of... drumroll please. Monstrous Nightmares. And here's the kicker, they even reuse the exact same model as Gustav's dragon, or again, in DreamWorks fashion, the same dragon. Also, again, not confirmed, and at the same time, you might be thinking I'm lying or exaggerating, but it's the exact same colours. For context, Gustav is a dragon featured in Dragons, the good shows that is. He was Snotlad's admirer. Anyways, he looked up to Snotlad and found a dragon to which he called Fanghook, you know, instead of Hook Fang. And for some reason, that dragon or model exists here, somehow. Unlike the sigil reveal, there is nothing to tie in the connection to Gustav. I also hope they don't. So when looking for similarities between the fireworms in 9 Realms and the past shows, I came across an episode which had the misuse of dragon eggs by characters who were designed to be very similar. In an episode in The Riders of Berk, there was an episode called Gem of a Different Colour. Fishlegs finds a glowing stone which is said to be lucky, but upon returning it, they were found out to be changewing eggs. In Dr. Catastrophe, the team tries to lure fire grunkles back to the Fire Realm, in which they use Fire Realm stones to do so. Guess what? Only to find out the food was instead dragon eggs. Both episodes share the same storyline, with a few changes obviously. Nevertheless, it was Rider with the round dragon finds stones, only to later find out they're dragon eggs. The rider feels guilty, and they return eggs to dragon.
What are you gonna do, fish legs?
So I can be like you. Oh.
And so I don't know if I've been clear or if people have just been assumed so, but I do not blame the animation on the animators. I have been fully aware of their small budget, which is further proven with the small back-cover dragons in the finale. But my god, is this animation even more atrocious than the last time. 2 examples I have here is the monstrous nightmare from earlier, like, look how he moves! They also forgot his horns in this shot. Another one I have is what I call a roly-poly. I've actually found out it's called a catastrophic quaking. It has the utterly slowest moving boulder speed I have ever seen. Who's not going to be able to dodge that? I do have to fucking wonder where all the budget goes. Now, this humour isn't as worse as Season 2's, but I wouldn't take that as a positive though. In the first couple minutes, they have terrible attempts for jokes already. A predictable joke by Eugene saying he doesn't want to be in their club, then immediately wanting to be in their club out of pure boredom. Another was a predictable joke from, who would you guess, D'Angelo, where he records this
Are you crazy?
And plays it a couple times.
Are you crazy?
Oh, that was... Alright, this was everything lazy about the show. Everything here is, well, everything bad about it. If you're out of the loop, there has been a mystery between Tom and Thunder's connection, which has been scoured with items from the past, like a helmet and sigil from Season 1, and a spear piece from Season 2, as well as 2 other items later on. And on its own, you would think, oh, this is cool, who could be leaving these clues? However, people guessed this from the trailer that, shocker, Tom is a descendant of Hiccup, vice versa with Thunder and Toothless. I honestly don't know why I did the Burger King foot lettuce meme. There was also this small theory I had that Tom's dad is connected to the dragon since they're, you know, unoriginal with ideas lately. And in Season 3 they've given us a scroll in the finale. Yay. Which, for reference, isn't revealed to us. Yay. Probably until Season 4. Great. And for the other item is Hiccup's shield in Episode 2. Yep. However, the only problem is it doesn't bear the mark of his sigil. So, I don't know if they were lazy or if it was intentional, and if it is so, it doesn't make a lick of sense that it was found in a fire area. Why am I saying area instead of realm? Well, for context, this shield was lost in the finale of Race to the Edge. What doesn't make sense is why is it in the fire realm instead of the ice realm, as he lost it in an icy area. I mean, yeah, the shield could have been moved by this mysterious person or a passing dragon. But what doesn't make sense is why are they giving us this? A mystery that's solved yet also unsolved. We already know Hiccup or a descendant is responsible for leaving the scrolls. Now, a mystery of your connection with another or finding the truth isn't something unheard of. Only those plots don't have prior content that reveals the truth we already know. For example, Carmen Sandiego. It focuses on Carmen finding her real family, or her mother in this case. And each season scours hints or answers to her past, until the finale has her meet her mother. Why it works is because we've seen the hints, we've seen everything, but the mystery in this show? Well, to me it won't seem very compelling.
This is...
What?
This is boring.
So you know Gustav, the guy they just mentioned like 5 minutes ago? Well, in the fandom, I'm pretty sure he's the most hated character, but I think we have a new contender in the ring. So last season, a new character was introduced, who didn't get a lot of screen time, and is a brother to one of the characters. Well, guess who becomes the 5th member of the group? Fucking Eugene! What makes this weird is even the group doesn't like him. Oh, and everyone, if you want to make friends, make sure to blackmail them. Great character, DreamWorks. Hey everyone, give it up for DreamWorks. And I want to mention this scene. I can already tell where this is going. And it's gonna end up with them closest siblings. And June's family being whole again. Oh, I refuse to call him by the name he prefers, because then he seems less like a Dagger ripoff. Our new theory, Leonard is Dagger's descendant. I wouldn't be surprised. Leonard in Season 3 has a continued, yet unimportant role throughout the entire season. I think he's being hyped up to the antagonist of the show, only he's an antagonist introduced in the 2nd season and no one knows him. 10 out of 10 DreamWorks, great matchup to the other villains introduced beforehand. His entire motive is trying to find the lightning bird, aka Thunder, and the most important thing he does, by accident might I add, is discovering the Ice Realm, which is the last scene in the finale. Seriously, why is he even in the show while simultaneously not being an important character?
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
What you gonna play tonight?
June and May's relationship is just so badly spread out and executed, which is the exact same thing as dragons. only there's just a wee issue. The feud is shown at least once in each season, like, you building something up? If so, actually show it. At this point in time, we hate May, for more reasons than one. What was I saying? Now, if you're gonna hint or dedicate screen time to showing June and May's relationship being repaired slowly, give them time to shine. What can I use an example? Oh! I have the perfect example. In the first movie, Stoic wasn't letting Hiccup fight dragons, even if he wanted to. This eventually leads Gobber to convince Stoic into unrolling Hiccup, only after being introduced to not killing dragons. Hiccup lies his way to the top until he's revealed to be lying, which leads Stoic to disown Hiccup, only to step back and just think about what he just said. Then Hiccup shows Stoic his worth while on a dragon, and then apologizing to Hiccup. In the show, he really has changed. He just the village to live with dragons. However, this show doesn't do any of that, or any modern display of that. Yeah, they show small feuds or even more love for the other child, but that's it. Stoic and Hiccup's relationship were mended more in a single movie than the 9 Realms has done in 3 seasons, where they could have replaced any of these useless episodes with that. There's a final fight against the Riders and a dragon called the Sky Torture, a dragon who controls flamethrowers. Yes, that is an actual dragon name. So, Alex's team is tasked with distracting it, while Tom's team acquires the Vault Ripper's help. Oh yeah, did I mention the Vault Ripper returns? After somehow living. But why am I telling you that? Have you noticed anything about the clips? The riders, for some reason, aren't wearing their suits. Suits that can directly protect them against fire, and has been shown to protect them against the fire-related dragons, which, for reference, both dragons are well equipped with. The Sky Torture more so. So why are the Fire Realm only? Do they want to die?
I wanna die.
This show has not improved one bit, and will only keep falling down the mountain. This show keeps getting worse in terms of, well, just about everything. And unfortunately, I assume this show will run for 9 seasons, so if this show is going to be renewed until the end, I'll keep reviewing and legally watching the show on a Hulu subscription account until it ends.
Instead, I put the milk.
Hell Spirit, so recently season 4 of the 9 Realms came out, and until this show ends, I'm gonna keep being negative. So without further ado,
No, you can't stop it. I'm in trouble, but I got it.
the show focuses on a new generation of the Dragon Team: Tom, June, Alex, D'Angelo, and Eugene. They find rip-off dragons, find a new realm, find an old relic connected into the original property, recycle and repeat.
I want to die.
There is only one thing I've legitimately and will continue to like from this season. No, this entire show. And while I have hated the entire plotline of, Hiccup being incorporated back into the story, and the even worse relic discovered, I'll get to that. But seeing Hiccup and the rest of the characters was great. These 2D pictures of the old cast were the only good thing in this show. That is all. I have a lot written here, and I have a lot that is shortened. Unlike the 9 Realms, I'm not trying to repeat the same topics as the last couple times. Animation is bad, humor is not funny, main and side characters suck. Over the rotation of the show, there has been a constant mystery for the characters, a mystery people guessed from the trailer, and the show keeps trying to push this with these little trinkets. So let's see here, we've got a Viking helmet, and Sigil, that was a clear connection to Hiccup, which I will correct myself here, it was technically the strike class symbol. Then a spearhead, that's forgotten about, then finally a box, scroll, thingy, and now we have the newest Viking relic, aka the one thing I never wanted in this show, the Book of Dragons. I should also state that I'm exaggerating. Of course, it's not the actual Book of Dragons, but in a way it's the show's version of it, as it details past dragons and Vikings. And just to get it out here, they made an item so useful yet so useless, because it's all written in runic script, which there is not a simple translator for. And I'm not entirely sure if How to Train Your Dragon script is accurate. But I'm basically not a fan that they were handed this book. I wouldn't say that's a joke either. I was talking to my friend about this show in class, and asked what the trope for that was. I couldn't think of the term, so I thought it was expedition or a plot device. But he said plot convenience, which it's the perfect description for how they find these items. Because then Tom conveniently finds the key they need by almost breaking the Viking helmet. They seriously had no respect for Hiccup this season. And come to think of it, every relic they've found has been clear. Plot convenience. Now, when I talk about the show, I nitpick things that are great about the show, so why not explain one of its worst episodes? Episode 3 focuses on Will and Wei being sick because they overexhaust themselves while saving Eugene. They try to find the King Dragon, but Tom and June fight over myths and the book's warnings. Now, the entire episode is basically explaining why June loves myths and why she trusts them. And yeah, the message about why she loves myths, trusts her dragon, would be a good, sentimental message. But it falls apart with June relying onto some myth with her dragons that are on the brink of death, and her friends follow the guidance of the dragon book through the pictures since it can't be read, where both sides are at fault and at the same time don't make sense. Cut in here, I forgot to originally add something utterly dumb on their part. While following the book, Tom somehow doesn't realize the other warning to the book. Now you could argue there was a hidden page in the book, which I think that is what they were trying to go for, but the dragon warning is on the next page and as a connected page to the original warnings. I've watched it slow, I've watched it frame by frame. I'm certain that the writers are at fault for this, so they can make it seem that June is in the wrong. Actually, June is less at fault, but mentioning the Dragon King myth while her dragon is dying doesn't exactly look good. But afterwards, I am on June's side when it comes to trusting Will and Wei. You'll hear why soon enough. One of the fatal flaws in the logic of this episode, which makes it fall flat, is that how do the writers know better? Oh, cause yeah, they know what Will and Wei know. Now, the writers trusting the book would be a good idea, but it would have to do something that isn't linking back to the dragon. And it's the fact that why would everyone assume Will and Wei purposely want to kill themselves? No goodbye on their part to June, so 3 seasons worth of them bonding means nothing? Bullshit. And my final piece of evidence that breaks it all is the dragon at the end. The King Will and Wei dragon is hyped to yeet dragons into a volcano, but when they grab Will and Wei, and despite being attacked, don't fight back. As a viewer, you should hopefully already know that the dragon means well, and that's only one of the 6 episodes, folks. Oh yeah, did I mention they returned back to the 6 episodes? No filler this time. Shocker that the show would get a season 5, and what do you know, it's with Tom's mother finding the secrets. Through season 4, Tom's mother finds the cave and sees the dragons. That's all we got in terms of that. And this season, she notices Tom has been lying to her. Shocker. Not taking his drone for recording, being away for much longer past curfew, and more. But all it takes for her to find his secret is look at drone footage, and finds the cave they were in. Which does bring up the question, why is there even footage of the cave? Because I cannot for the life of me remember any prior episode that shows Tom using his drone since season 1. And I already know one of the 2 routes they'll go in. Tom will take his mother on a ride, just like what Toothless did, or his mother will hate the idea at first, then allow it with restrictions to keep him safe, or a mix of the 2. So yeah, season 5. Can't wait. Also, just want to include this here, there's another realm and I honestly don't care for it, that's all I wanted to mention. I can't wait for season 5 to get the mother a new dragon, and shit, it's Cliff Jumper, isn't it? It's gonna be Cliff Jumper.
Alright, jag off.
So of course by now Thunder and Tom have a connection they don't know of, but we as an audience know they're Hiccup and Toothless descendants. But a story like this does not work unless your audience has never watched any dragon media. So for it to work, we have to know nothing about Hiccup, his adventures, his legacy. So what's a show that's in the same universe yet so different? What's creators stated they didn't watch any prior content, so that it wasn't the same. Based on a classic Disney property, ladies and gentlemen, behold 101 Dalmatian Street. 101 is a show I haven't gotten to watch unfortunately, but the show is highly praised by many, but Disney just don't want to do anything with it, but that's not the topic for today. The overall message I want you to take away is how the 9 Realms could have taken inspiration, because 101's creators said that they never watched any previous content, just the original movie, which didn't really give it the best light, which has the same models, unevolved dragons, and of course the descendant mystery. And sometimes this level of thinking doesn't work in their favour, but these two shows are very similar in terms of their premises. Both star the original character's descendants many years later, but a show focuses on the past and another tries to stay away from it. And that's why 101 works and why the 9 Realms doesn't. And if they had done what 101 did and stay away from the original cast, it would have avoided Hiccup's legacy in the rest of his entire life, because we know of their connection, but the characters, they don't. I absolutely hate each of these characters, like they're just not fun to see on screen, and you know the names, the new addition to the cast, Eugene and Buzzsaw. Eugene as a character was a predictable mess that of course would have been added to the main cast. And the only real twist reveal is he isn't the other rider for the cultural dragon. But something I hate about him in this season is he's carrying the worst mindset that he should be leader.
Have a real leader that's more like, I don't know, me. I'm the key to this whole thing.
You're the key? How's that?
Under my leadership, Tommy, because if you don't have time to lead the mission, I'd be happy to...
And after an episode of him saying that, it gets old, quick. But episode 4, he sees Tom's worth and zips it.
I know you're grateful that I took the reins of leadership today, as are the others, so you're welcome for that. But I think you've actually got a pretty good handle on this leadership thing after all.
And while he is going through some sort of redemption arc, even though you see just a little bit of change, he pulls a Luna and backtracks at the end. Also, I just want to mention the only time I've liked him, and that's when he was explaining the use of Hiccup's peg leg, which the other riders don't think is a peg leg, and instead list off even dumber ideas.
But what is this thing? An old Viking shovel?
Or some kind of giant spoon to stir their gruel.
Oh, right, yeah, remember Leonard? I could not care less for his nickname, Buzzsaw. But of course, the main antagonist of the show returns after discovering the Ice Realm, where for some reason the Mother's Boy is competent in being a villain. But at the same time, isn't. Which is just... so confusing. Now, in this season, he explains he can set traps, magically has a porcelain tea set, and can make ice cages. Oh, and has Piccolo classes according to him. And you'd think he's some genius, but in season 2, he's shown to be some idiot who drove into a fire which blew up the gas in a van. Then in season 3, he was a crazy person looking for the lightning bird. And in season 4, uses a fake name to people he's never met and tries to kill a fucking dragon multiple times with a small hatchet. Something I forgot to mention was, oh boy, I can't wait for season 5. Because there's the possibility that Leonard will start to ride dragons. Considering his failed attempt at it with Tom, which feels familiar. Is it just me? But moving on. So why is he even considered a villain? Because he's a dumbass and yet he's somehow competent? So yeah, these characters suck. Alright, I have 4 main dragons I'll be talking about, not the Ice Throne dragons you see in the background though. The Timberjack returns, for some reason. Be lucky I don't yell like before about this shit.
Previously on Experimental.
How is there a squirrel?
We resume with our regularly scheduled programming.
Copy and paste. And then there's the snow race. I was gonna say I don't care about them and don't want to give them the light of day, but the 9 rounds takes another step in the wrong direction. These dragons are from the original show, Race to the Edge to be exact. And what's this? No body modifications, no evolution to them. Just like every other dragon, they continue to spit in our faces with, because they had another Ice Realm dragon in episode 2, which they could have used, but instead of the Yeti, they used the race, but for what exactly? Snow Race are the antagonists against Thunder's family, which have terrible and ugly designs. I guess no competition, Thunder is still the worst of them all, and the only one I like to agree is the dad. And the mother comes in a close second worst. Also, the Snow Race attack and they find a tooth that neither of them lost or even look like it belongs to them. Again, plot convenience. I also have another small topic to talk about with these baby dragons. Besides how the show drives you to think the baby Light Knights are cute, Shadow, by the way, is this dragon, is just not cute. Now that's cute. Because the entire reason why I like these Nightlights in the first place, and yeah, I will admit their designs aren't perfect either. And the reason I prefer them is because the animation complements their cuteness. This show doesn't have a big enough budget for it, and even without the uncanny quality, the budget needs to go somewhere into their small actions, attention to actually being cute and not, ugh. That's an actual frame, by the way. So yeah, the 9 rounds mission of incorporating more unoriginal dragons continues, and the fact that they tried to actually, you know what, that's up next. This could be a video on its own if I'm honest, but remember the sad ending that departed Toothless and Hiccup? Well, oh boy, here we go again with a predictable twist. Basically, season 4 was the final mark for Thunder finding his family, if that wasn't obvious already. But yeah, Thunder's family is found, and the main thing I forgot to mention through my reviews was the entire storyline of Thunder finding his family. Like, there was a Skrull attack in season 2 where I think it chased off his family, and maybe a mention in season 1 and 3, and just like its characters, it's forgettable. And your attention's turned to the filler, and the absolute abominations this show thinks is cute. And so, at the end of episode 5, Tom must depart from Thunder, leaving his friend behind with his family, before he returned once more to help his friend's family one last time. To leave his friend, until he decides to stay with his new group with the permission of the Elder Dragon. And it's so clear they tried to replicate that same tone, but the difference between the impact in that last movie was, we grew up with Toothless and Hiccup, we saw each grow, each becoming a well-known and liked duo. And yeah, they both tried to find Toothless's family, or anyone remaining of his kind. But Tom and Thunder are doing the same story, one without either growing, because unlike Hiccup, Tom can't fend for himself. Hiccup could defend himself even without Toothless. All Tom is doing is learning of his heritage past and finding Thunder's family, with the mystery of their connection in the background. But looking at either character, the mystery is crystal clear. They're descendants. And the conclusion of both characters staying was obvious, and to reiterate, the mystery is still there. We know, they don't, they haven't killed off characters, and when you think they have, they don't. Season 4, I'd say, isn't any better than the previous seasons, and the only major thing they've done is given Leonard an actual role as a villain, or reintroducing abominations. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this new season either, and they've only made me more mad as a fan, such as disrespecting Hiccup's belongings, or now just noticing the plot convenience the characters are receiving.
I'm gonna bust you up, plum fam, and then I'm gonna wear your clothes. That was weird.
Hello spirits, when thinking about a show with a lot of seasons in the norm, what do you think of it? Is it good? Is it bad? Does it try to show that it deserves those seasons? Well, for me, it really depends on the person, or the people running the show, or the company behind it. And when it comes to DreamWorks, they do not have the best reputation in terms of their spin-offs. But hey, it's the try, buy, something monthly tradition, right? Bad-mouthing my favourite show, Dragons of the 9 Realms, especially for its 5th season. And my, must I say, that is quite an accomplishment. 5 seasons, which is not easy to get, mind you, especially in a 2-year runtime. Only a few awful shows get more than what they're worth, or unless you're a crappy DreamWorks show, that gets,
Way too many seasons and a short runtime. And what do you know, this show it quite frankly sucks. And boy do I have some thoughts about this season, because personally it's not the worst season, but it's definitely not the best either. So without any further delays, Dragons and Nine Realms, null and void improvement. Dragons and Nine Realms centers around 5 riders and 5 dragons. Tom and Thunder, June, Wu and Wei, Yandel and Plowhorn, Alex and Feathers, and finally, Eugene and Webmaster. You follow as they take their friendship to the next level in order to keep the hidden worlds from being discovered, and keep the dragons a secret, all while someone who knows about the dragons plans on killing them. Before I talk about the show, can I just mention that they absolutely gave up on the trailers? Like, that friendship to the next level quote is from the season 5 trailer. That wasn't my writing. It's also the fact that even if I was a fan of this show, I'd be really disappointed. They kind of hype up a fight between the Sky Torture, which, from my guess, would have been a collaborative fight with Leonard and Tom. It wouldn't have been remarkable, but they do it in the first episode, Leonard runs away, and then the Sky Torture never appears again, even with this little quote.
She will kill us, our dragons, and everything else in this entire realm.
Also, the themes about friendship are really cringy. Now, before I go on about any major reveals or the main theme of the season, and all that other garbage that is involved with the show, I just need to get this off my shoulders immediately, because even days later, or weeks later at the time of recording, editing, and exporting this, I'm still mad. I'm legitimately mad, and it's about their antagonist, the very same someone who plans to kill dragons, Leonard. Now, I have expressed my distaste for Leonard multiple times.
Aw man, that was fun. Good game, dude.
Enough so that he doesn't deserve his preferred name, Buzzsaw. Now, after every season, there are credits with drawings that are most likely concept art from the show. I never paid attention to it because, well, I just wanted to get to the next episode and write a script. But this season, Season 5's concept art, it intrigued me. It was much more stylized, more expressive, and you're probably wondering why this has any relation to Leonard. Well, one of the concepts was a drawing of Buzzsaw, and while he looks really different here, how I know it's him is the signature whistle and, well, who else has a fucking timberjack dragon under their control? Now, from this drawing, I can tell how much of a better character he would have been. Currently, Leonard stands on the edge of being a dumb and yet also a smart character, who in Season 5 looks like a short-haired moist critical.
He's pulling his cock out!
Hence the thumbnail. He can make a dragon controlling and luring flute or piccolo, ceramic tea sets, ice cages, and yet both parties get outsmarted by each other constantly. But in this piece of art, he looks big, fierce, smart, calculated, and doesn't look like some fucking idiot. Unlike this miss of an antagonist. So yeah, it is unfortunate they went with this version of Buzzsaw than the other. But, while we're on the topic of this villain, of course an antagonist needs to have grunts. Who are the construction workers from when he first debuted? Oh yeah, remember them? Cause I sure as hell didn't. I don't even know their names because they're not anything remarkable. But I remember there being 3 of them. Huh. Now it's bad enough when your villain is dumb, but when the grunts, the same ones that knew he was whack, stand by the sinkhole he was conveniently in at the time, and even when left alone with the riders, where they could have explained their situation and be safe from the man who kidnapped them, it's not a great sign for things to come. Now I know people are going to be up in arms about the dumb villain comment. I do not mind if there is a dumb villain, because something else will usually complement it. Take Victor from Despicable Me for example. He's a dumb, fun villain, but they also make sure to establish he's smart, rich, cocky, and that he's a threat combined. Unlike Leonard, who has been referred to as a loony, or that he can make different things from his surroundings. They establish what background Victor has and what he is able to do. Leonard is a grandpappy's boy who was fed with a silver spoon as a kid, who also drove a truck full of gas into a forest fire in that same episode. They never establish what he's able to do, or don't do, hence he doesn't work in the way they wrote him. Now, there isn't much to say about this animation either. I'm just putting this here because it's just mandatory. It's really just the same thing over the past 5 seasons. It's the same rendering quality, the same stiffness, decent lighting. It's all in all basically just the same thing. And even in the new area, I'll get to that in a moment, looks unremarkable. And when it comes to the characters, well, don't expect me to go on for 5 minutes about them. There isn't much difference in any of the characters, much less is there any development or many sappy moments. There was one moment and a brief mention of something in the entirety of 6 episodes, and the rest is essentially one thing I'll say in a minute. Basically, the sappy moment was Eugene acknowledging June is better. She's just like their mother, they both have focus on their own beliefs, and that May treats Eugene differently because she believes June is more capable, which, sure, that can be implied, but May never says that explicitly herself. And that brief mention is, well, after 5 seasons since the first finale, the showrunners remember the romance between Tom and June, and then it's never touched upon again. But let's move on to the more focused part, and that is, well, Tom's mum discovering the secret. Now, the main theme of the season that dedicates, I think, half of its season to debating if the secret should be told to the parents. And eventually the secret does come out, as the writers save them with their dragons. Now, I'm fine with the dragons becoming known, like, if this was the original dragons, I would have been very distraught, bewildered, scared for them. But if it was the modern dragons, well, let them die. Now, it's going to be one of 2 ways in Season 6. They'll be fine, the parents will accept the dragons, there'll be complications, or they'll be sold out, and the hidden world will be in danger. But what falls flat is that, well, we're supposed to be afraid that the parents will be afraid of the dragons. But it fails when you think about one little factor, just a teeny bit of information. There's not a lot of focus on the parents. So much so I forgot, not that D'Angelo has a disabled mother, but that he has a mum at all. The most focus the parents get are Alex's mum, sometimes D'Angelo's father, and the least being May, who they still continue to push the controlling parent theme, despite May appearing in at least 2 episodes a season, except for season 4, and even then, they're just small appearances half the time. But in turn of learning the dragon's secret, for some reason, and this is never explained mind you, Olivia knows fully well of her grandfather. Yeah, that same grandfather from over 1,000 years ago. The same person Tom has been trying to find out who he is, and apparently they've been told stories about Hiccup. Now, if this was the case, does it mean like over 13 generations have been telling a part of Hiccup's story? How does that even stay intact? The alliance between humans and dragons in Homecoming had been lost to the next generation of kids. Stoic had been lost to that generation. Hold on a second, I just thought of a really great point. One that demonstrates this show derives on plot convenience to tell the same story. Now, from episode 1 from season 1, it's established Tom knows his connection to Vikings. And look, even has a little Viking helmet as a family heirloom. So if that's the case, if Tom has taken such an interest in Vikings, his own heritage before he met Thunder, before the Fisher existed, and yet knows nothing about them, why hasn't Olivia told him about his great-grandfather before? The one who was a Viking. Why didn't she tell him any Viking stories as maybe a bedtime treat? Simple, because plot convenience, and it revealed the main topper to the mystery too soon. If Tom knew about Hiccup, and Thunder knew the family sigil at the end of season 1, then Tom would have understood the connection by the time season 2 started. Just like the rest of the trinkets they've collected and forgotten about, the spear piece, shield, chest with the Book of Dragons in it, it's all been plot convenient for the characters to understand Tom's heritage. Let's move from characters to the new dragons. Now we all know the Sky Torture, right? The dragon that was hyped up for another fierce battle, with Leonard teaming up to, and he runs away. Well, never mind that. A massive, amazing battle must have unfolded. He lives with his flamethrowers after they're set free. Even if I was a fan, I'd be really disappointed. And now onto the real stuff, because you'd be surprised that out of 6 episodes, with an entirely new realm discovered at the ending in episode 1, which for the record is really bland so far, 2 episodes in and it's mainly just nature, rocks, rarely dragon nests, and apparently someone, or Hiccup, had a resting place to go to. But oh yeah, what about the unique rainforest realm dragons? They have to be amazing. There was only 3. Yeah, out of the entire runtime, there were only 3 original dragons. Not just in the realm, but in general. There was this dragon, whistle dragon, who made dragons aggressive. I mean, I guess a dragon who would have the ability to do that, but its design is just so uncreative. And then there was the monkey dragons, or rather vine tails. They're basically just axolotl terrible terrors who work like barrel monkeys, which I later discovered that was the case when looking at its title. And they're a species who understands bargaining. I mean, I guess it's creative, but it's still an unoriginal idea using something as old as barrel monkeys. I say it is old as the last bit of barrel monkey media I vividly remember was from Toy Story 3, which was 13 years ago for the record, and then there was the sniffer hide. Oh, it's basically a blind dragon that relies on smells, and yeah, that's really it. Oh no, wait, it confuses smells for other things such as its younglings, and well, that ends the new dragons, because there was also something new that isn't a dragon, but was rather a dragon-killing plant, which was far more unique than those dragons combined, and it wasn't even important enough to get a Wikipedia page dedicated to them. But then there's also my favourite game, what already old dragon or plot point will they shit out? In today's video we have the Speed Stingers. Unevolved, shockingly enough. Aren't they original? But what's truly worse is the lovely human that they have.
No Wi-Fi. Life and death.
Doesn't it sound great? Now they thankfully haven't tried that season 2 humor again, but it hasn't even improved. In fact, they even try to integrate jokes as plot points in some of their episodes, such as making constant jokes about the polar bear ass cologne, which Eugene wears that episode, and then using it to defeat Leonard. Like, they keep bashing the smell of it basically whenever they can. And of course, the only person who enjoys the smell is, well, it's not a person per se, it's the sniffer hide, who confuses Eugene for its young. Yeah, that's who I was referring to a few minutes ago. Or when Eugene tries to steal D'Angelo's food like a Looney Tunes character. Haha. I love shenanigans slapstick in a loosely fluent animation style. For reference, that doesn't work unless the animation moves nicely and looks good in general. Or when Eugene tries to move when stung. Oh, I guess D'Angelo isn't the comedic relief character anymore. Never mind.
Oh, come on! No!
Dragons: The Nine Realms. Even after 5 seasons later where something could have improved upon in its budget, nothing has changed in the slightest. The season demonstrates what the show is as a whole, a badly animated, unfunny, bad storytelling, plot convenient, obvious mystery show with unoriginal ideas. In the past, I would have said enjoy the show, even if it isn't the best, just note that it has a lot of flaws. But today, well, I say watch it from a site that doesn't pick up viewership, and that you are using a protective application. The show is not great and isn't worth wasting your time with, especially when others collectively point out its flaws. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't like it, there's somehow something for you to enjoy. I don't know who or what, but there's obviously something. But the Nine Realms has had no real improvement in any areas I've covered in videos prior, and isn't worthwhile at any point. So, just watch The Last of Us instead, it's actually really good.
Then take a shot. Don't talk alone.
Fruit. And what does that make? Ketchup.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Hello Spirits, DreamWorks has a very good history with their shows. In the animation front, they're badly rendered, but delivered gems solely on their writing. But nowadays, not only do DreamWorks shows not look remotely decent for its age, they're badly written and they're not funny. And out of all the modern DreamWorks shows that actually have hope for being good, I see hope in the Megamind show that has been pushed back to 2024. And when you compare it to the 9 Rounds where they release seasons every few months, it looks promising. I mean, we know nothing of how the show will look. It's basically a gamble, but I've given up on the 9 Realms, where their episodes are so stagnant and boring, and it's very clear that this season shares the same issues, and again, sticks closer to the classics, or rather the original series, than developing their own original ideas, no matter how bad they may be. But you'll hear about that in a minute. So without further ado, Dragons of the 9 Realms Season 6, Classic Desperation. Dragons of the 9 Realms Season 6, I can't believe this shit has 6 seasons, follows Tom, June, D'Angelo, Alex and Eugene as they try to keep Icarus from dragons out now that the secret is out, while new and old villains begin to rise. DreamWorks Animation is a great example of how studios can put effort into what they make. Just about every movie, regardless of their quality, they have something original in its style. Usually the frame rate, look or visuals are different, But in this case, they've made a couple new movies like The Bad Guys, Puss in Boots, or Ruby Gilman, all movies made in the past 2 years, and yet all look uniquely different than one another. However, that really only applies to their films, since their shows are so much worse. Think of DreamWorks shows as the direct-to-DVD Disney films, but even then I've seen a few of the old shows. The animation quality is unique, but looks abysmal.
Awesome.
And the writing's really good for a lot of the episodes. Despite its 7-episode run having been made for this season, they're all still horrible in quality, and not just the animation, but I'll get to that soon enough. Now, an example I can use is Murder Drones by Glitch Productions, an independent animation studio. Murder Drones has really good animation to make scenes either funny, interesting, on purpose tropey, or something horror related. Because whatever the theme of the episode is, that's the tone of the show that benefits its animation style. Because in the end, you know what the show is about. The Nine Realms has a multiple set of tones, humor, and such that doesn't help with its animation. It's choppy, stiff, and all in all not eye candy to look at, which doesn't benefit DreamWorks, especially when it comes to their movies, who alongside Sony are taking Disney and Pixar by storm. Even the Dragon 2 throughout the franchise have amazing flight scenes, whether in the films or the shows, but the wings feel so slow, and it just shows how bad the animation is. And I can say that the only bit of animation from this show I genuinely enjoyed was over 10 seconds, and that's out of the entire show, and it's from season 6. Since it moves so well enough, and then it returned back to the bullshit I'm having to watch every few months. Ironically enough, it's the only time with the shield is actually brought back. Now, I've touched upon some things about the writing in the past, but mostly just pointing out their poor attempts for humour, which they still do. Now, I was surprised a specific trait from Eugene is still being used from season 4, where he'd hoped he would be the leader, where they focused an entire episode showing Tom being a bad leader so he can try to match up to Hiccup. And by the end, Eugene still complains and drops it all together throughout the rest of the season.
We're forgiving him? How many free passes does this group hand out?
And while I will say that the moral is good, that you need to understand the strength of your group, I just cannot help but compare this story to another character who tries to match up to their predecessor. Because a theme in a season needs to be concurrent for a character to grow, not to be the same and only have an episode or 2 every season. To cut in here, in saying that however, I didn't realise that Eugene gets more focus than the others, which is 2 episodes, but still. And even then, he doesn't change for the rest of the episodes. In episode 2, the parents and employees go into leadership training, leaving the riders alone, and making them not let the dragons in the surface or go into the lair. However, Eugene being Eugene brings the dragons out, who chase a sheep into the hangar, leaving them trapped. However, during his stay in the hangar, D'Angelo expresses concern that he betrayed his dad's trust, leading to a heart-to-heart from Eugene saying how he doesn't have the best relationship with his dad, and doesn't want D'Angelo to ruin what he has with his, so he takes responsibility later on. In episode 4, Eugene expresses to his dragon webmaster, who has fallen under a mystery dragon's venom, that he doesn't have any friends out in the world, as he makes it out he does, which was really obvious. His only real friend was Webmaster, and while I like that moment, it's an immediate turn off when the other episodes are just him being so annoying and arrogant still. He doesn't change and hasn't changed since his debut. And while I would love to applaud the creators for delving more time into the characters for once, after this he still does not change much in personality even after 2 heart-to-hearts in 1 season. But to continue on from my point before about the predecessor story, who is this character though? Miles Morales in Into the Spider-Verse has an entire movie dedicated to him learning to be a different Spider-Man from Peter Parker. Throughout the runtime, everything Miles tries to do is in Peter Parker's image. Wearing a fan costume following the comic backstory to the letter, aka Peter's leap of faith, he tries to be someone he can never be because if he can't, there won't be a Spider-Man in his reality due to the death of Peter. And when Peter B tells him that for him to be ready, he has to take a leap of faith, to which every Spider-Man has taken to be a Spider-Man, woman, pig. He understands the control of his abilities, designs his own costume, and takes his leap of faith. That's how you do a matching up to the predecessor story in movie form. For a single season, they could have they've used that theme for Tom to grow as a leader for the future. Characters grow over time, not overnight, and in that case, overnight is an episode. While it will show a few unfunny clips of the characters to demonstrate its humour, I wanted to touch upon the sparking relationship between Tom and June. Still, after 6 seasons, they've barely done anything since the last time they poked at the idea. Besides one clip directly touching upon a childhood game they used to play in episode 5, and I mean, it shows that after 6 seasons, they're forming a crush towards each other, but Christ, why is it becoming the next miraculous ladybug? A lot of ideas they have during seasons feel like they're throwing things at a wall to see what sticks. And when it does, they're not doing anything with that idea. And don't go telling me that asking someone out is hard, I already know, but you'd think that after 6 seasons, they'd at least do something more than a few nudges to the audience.
Let me just have this moment as I wear my crown. See me as a friend.
Finally, let's delve into the title, or rather how the writers go even further into unoriginality. Before I begin anything, they introduce a Honey I Shrunk the Kids realm, and instead of exploring it for a few episodes, you know, like some of their other episodes had, the writers decide let's make it so there's a massive fucking dragon and smaller dragon territory so the characters are afraid to explore it, which just feels like they brushed off a realm that is tropey, but a lot more interesting than an elemental realm. But why am I saying this? Well, before I get towards the juicy stuff of the season, we have the return of another species of dragon from the 3rd film. Let me to reintroduce you to the Death Gripper dragons. The main dragon centered around the 3rd film. Nice to know they're still clinging on to something else from the 3rd film. Doesn't help with the animation either. If I was in control of the direction, I feel like the episode could have had a horror element added. Imagine these characters moving in dark areas, snooping around without knowing what they could do. Plus, it's not like they would have to move the dragons a lot anyways, since they're more hidden or in shadows. And I mean, it wouldn't make up the show since there's so much wrong still, but they really need to utilize these dragons better, or you know, increase the animation budget. Because then you have the first episode, where they reintroduce the return of deadly natters, and that dragons are afraid of eels. I actually forgot about that during this entire series. Which was used to prevent an outbreak of dragons, but they also use fake snakes for it. And that was within the first 15 minutes. Then at 20 minutes, they had the inclusion of something from the 2nd film. Remember when Toothless became an alpha? You know where this is going. When Tom is cornered by 3 deadly natters, Thunder steps up and commands to stop, which makes him look like he was supercharged. To which Tom blatantly says to Thunder, or rather to the audience,
There were 3 of them and you just went like full alpha.
And while it's bad enough they're treading old ground again, just with every single little thing they introduce throughout the show, they drop it. And they don't bring it up again until a season or 2 has passed. Not to his friends or even to his goddamn dragon. Like, didn't you literally go through a similar situation before? I can't wait to see how he will become an alpha, so I can compare how bad it will be to Toothless's. How about the villains? Well, let's just say that there's now 2 dragon-knowing villains in this show, and just that there's 6 to 8 episodes a fucking season, which is not enough time to have multiple villains, but I'll go more into that in a second. Now, while this season miraculously doesn't focus on any Hiccup artifacts, because it's clear they're not to be trusted with them, how do you drop the Viking helmet and destroy Hiccup's prosthetic leg? And it shows when talking about Leonard again, but during the 6th episode, he learns of the Dragon Book by his lackeys, who have gronkles, a means of escape, and yet still work for him? Didn't you 2 find him insane a few seasons ago? Basically, Thunder is poisoned, and in turn for the antidote, Tom has to hand in the book. This leads them to look into why hobgoblins are immune to poison, to which they find a flower. Plot twist, the flower doesn't actually work. Then Tom hands in the book, to which he's betrayed by Leonard. And during that time, it's discovered the grubs on the flowers cause the antidote. Which, Hiccup, as much as I love to defend you during the show, why didn't you put the bugs on the page with the flowers? It just smells of plot convenience once again for the show to further Leonard's delusion he's the king of dragons. Speaking of, upon having the book of course, the page it turned to after he threw it was of Dagger. That was such a surprise to me if you couldn't tell.
Previously on Experimental.
But they set up a future antagonist of the show. an amazing, well thought. It's their bootleg rendition of Dagger. But why don't we move the spotlight onto the other villain? Now, Sledkin, or Concert Art Sombra, has been established as a villain early on in the show. Even if it wasn't a major threat, she was more of a nuisance to Tom's mother and a danger to discovering the dragon world. However, in Season 6 that changes a lot. Now, Season 6 obviously opens up the dragon world at Icarus, or whatever the town name is. She's basically collecting resources, even if it hurts the environment, hurts or angers the dragons, etc. Oh, and we actually were given an in-universe reason as to what Dragonside actually is, which, it produces oxygen. Now explain why the realms act like TARDISes. Anyways, through the episodes she was in, after being put in suspension for blowing holes into the realm, she tunnels her house into the realms just to get more dragon sight. And that's only revealed after she blows up a cave to get more, which almost suffocates the dragon riders. To cut in again, they're also saved by the Cavern Crusher, who was introduced earlier on, who I didn't realise came from Race to the Edge, which further adds to my point that they're desperate by adding classic dragons, with no sort of evolution being added to them at all, and had planned to play innocent when she would hear the news. However, I didn't really care about her as much, but rather it's someone connected to her. Her grunt, Linda. She is a comedic relief character, the butt of a joke, the main cause for some issues through the show. She was literally the issue for like Season 5's finale. But my biggest hate towards the character this season is, why is she against the riders? Like, out of everyone, I thought she'd defend them. Because if it wasn't for Tom, she would be dead at the bottom of the fissure. Like in the very first episode, Tom saves her life. And yet Linda can't remember that. How do they make henchmen that make no sense being henchmen, besides budgetary restraints? It's not like they're being blackmailed. Slake and Leonard will not work as villains because the seasons are short. There's at the very minimum 10 episodes, which allowed for more villains and other dragons. Alvin, Dagger, Mildew. And that's just the first 2 shows. Other villains would be introduced in Race to the Edge, aka Vigo, which is a show with a unique storyline that uses its past episodes to tell an original story. Finally, after 6 full seasons, 35 episodes later, they finally give June and May some time to finally mend their relationship, to finally restore their relationship as mother and daughter, and to make their family whole again. To end this arc in their show after so long is what I would be saying if they actually did. In the opening scene, June wants to show that the dragons are based on legends, and wants to be the advisor when learning more about the dragons. Because through the show, we were shown how May views dragons and her daughter's beliefs are beneath her. However, after the dragons are brought to light, it now just relies on what May thinks of them now that they're real. Well, June presents this to her friends, then fumbles the bag with her mother.
Who's got what it takes? You've got what it takes! Yeah!
And you'd think May and June would try to reconnect to one another through the episode, but no, she doesn't appear for another 17 minutes. May's there at the start, then at the end. But hey, at least they're acknowledging it, but it's not a great storytelling if you don't focus more on the characters. And yeah, that's it, because they instead use it as a setup for Slaken as an antagonist. The other tidbit of information about the Wongs is that the kids like the opposite parent they're placed with. Eugene prefers his mum and has a distant connection with his dad. June prefers her father, but they still never focus on who the father is, which may make it easier to see why June prefers him and Eugene doesn't, considering they only said that he likes Miss like June. And yeah. Alright, since the show won't try something new, let's try something more constructive. Now, if this show was any better, I think they could delve into some serious topics that are beginning to slowly get integrated into media. Or if they treat this like a kids show, maybe I should use one to compare it. Bluey? We've all heard of Bluey, and everything about this show, in its less than 10-minute runtimes, they are able to encapsulate so many things better than anything the Nine Realms wrote. Without going into anything specific you haven't heard of already, they touched upon death, miscarriage, infertility, abandonment, split custody, and so much more. Because while it's displayed as a kids show, its writing and themes is something to be applauded for. They're trying to mend a mother-daughter relationship for 6 goddamn seasons, and it took 6 fucking seasons for them to start fixing it. And even then, she still barely has speaking roles. They had a brief mention of Tom's dad, both June and Eugene, liking their other parent better than the other. And these are serious topics that center around a majority of kids and teens today. Parents leave, split off, and it sucks they don't do something with it because instead of constant hate, they could be praised if they had competent writers. Because then we get a majority of the season where the kids almost die around 1, 2, or even 3 times in the span of 7 episodes. Tom almost dies to deadly natters, Eugene almost dies to his own dragon and death grippers, then they almost die from a cave-in, and then finally Tom almost drowns. And D'Angelo and June almost die in the water from a shell fire, which was also taken from the original shows. And if this show took itself seriously, they would show that how these experiences have traumatized them in a way to further grow them as tolerable characters. But no, they focus on the King of Dragons with the confirmed Dagger ripoff as an even bigger villain for season 7. Just let this show end, my god. Dragons and I Realm Season 6 has been constant proof that a show will not improve. While a lot of shows can improve as the seasons go by, regardless of their age rating, the writers behind these shows have a story set out. But it's so spread out it's hard to tell when they're trying to show it. If I could recommend something like I often do with these videos, instead of wasting 2.5 hours of your life watching this show, like I have, instead watch other stuff. If it's something recent, I recommend stuff like Bluey, Nimona, Hell of a Boss, Across the Spider-Verse, Lackadaisy, Monkey Wrench. If you're looking for things more nostalgic, Transformers Prime, Spectacular Spider-Man, The Looney Tunes Show, Teen Titan, or uniquely different stuff that are far better in comparison. Spirit out. Before I begin, if you were one of the lucky 31 people to watch the original video, you would have noticed that it was very broken. Well, you can thank Femora for that. Just do not get their product. I could make a video on why probably, but as you can see, images were blurred, keyframes weren't working, my stills were blacking out everything out, and yeah, here's another one. The titles became basically ghosts. I had to go back to Filmora 12 since I needed to pay for Filmora 13, even with a perpetual plan. Anyways, on with the video. Hello spirits, so we're finally nearing the end of this god-awful show. I hope at least, because if this gets to 10 seasons, I swear to God. Now while I will never say this show is good or that anything past season 1 is passable, because before I spoil anything, weirdly enough, Season 7 actually feels like a show that's set in the future of How to Train Your Dragon. Because take it from someone who has a lot of experience watching this show. They did so much by repeating so much from the past stuff and using it to tell a story already obvious. Who's Tom and Thunder's descendants? Gee, I wonder who. What does the weird crest mean? And instead of using that past stuff to tell an original story, they don't do it, and never do it.
3 of them, and you just went like full alpha.
Kill me.
They make duplicates of your favorite dragons, storylines that stretch for too long, have mirrored characters, and so much more. The fact that they just straight out copy the scene pisses me off. But believe it or not, I am surprised this time around they did something original that utilizes old elements to tell something new. So without further ado, Dragons of 9 Round Season 7, finally original. If you've got headphones in, you will most likely hear dogs barking. I didn't realise this until I had finished recording all this and started editing. Something last video I dedicated a segment to was that teens can often suffer from a parent leaving or their marriage splits off, and none of it in animation media ever explores something like that.
Previously on Experimental.
Serious topics that center around a majority of kids and teens today. Parents leave, split off, and it sucks they don't do something with it because instead of constant hate, they could be praised if they had competent writers. And to add on to that, there's a lot more than just that, as a range of teenagers can go through depression, anxiety, Tourette's, abuse, and so much more, or in cases like this, child neglect, a lack of a father in their life, growing up antisocial and connected to technology, and yet they do next to nothing about any of it. Oh, they may focus an episode on it, but it's so poorly done half the time. As in a lot of media, these kinds of themes can be present, but most of it is never further explored or developed. Actually, cut in again, I forgot to mention a show that actually included a serious topic relating to this: abusive mothers. In the Owl House, Adelia had a lot of control over Amity and even her husband. This included forcing her to get rid of her best friend, dye her hair, and assumingly help her sell the merchandise they provide. But as time passed with Luz, she broke away from her mother's grasp on her and began to grow as a character. She gained new and old friends, cut off ties to toxic ones, and further masking Adelia as the villain. Like for example, D'Angelo brought up Tom's dad once in like season 2, maybe 3, and what do you know, they don't bring him up at all. And the only time where a parent dying in recent animation, and it focuses on both the parent and the kid, was in the Owl House with Luz's dad. There's even a few background appearances of Winston's dad in Bluey, where he's divorced and in the show tries to date again. And even Via and Stolas in Hell of Boss, and how Stolas' actions affected him and his daughter. Now while the season or show in general doesn't touch upon any marriage issues, surprisingly they further focus on an actual thing teens go through, and they do it with the kid. Where they do something like this with D'Angelo, my second least favourite character out of the entire team next to Eugene. In the show, the relationship between each of the characters and their parents is really scarce. Tom and Olivia have a few episodes early on when she was important. Alex and her parents have only had 1, maybe 2. They literally don't know what to do with May. Which, by the way, can I mention they still have not made an attempt at fixing the strained relationship between June and May again. She's not even in this season. Again.
Recently on fire.
Was season 4, William. Then there's D'Angelo. Well, he's never had the screen time to compensate his relationship with his father. He's had small moments with D'Angelo, but none of it was dedicated to an entire episode, or as of late. In the episode, D'Angelo's father disapproves of his son's career choice of being a veterinarian doctor, as he has wanted him to be a first lieutenant to stay on guard beside him rather than being cooped up in a hospital helping dragons, and thinking his passion was only a phase that would ultimately lead into his footsteps of being a ranger, as he views it as something that's not as important as setting up sensors or patrolling. So he plans to restrict dragons from being on the surface and putting an end to the hospital, and overall stop his career choice of wanting to be a veterinarian altogether.
Edict, banning dragons in Rake Town and shuttering your little hospital.
No, Dad, you can't!
I can, and I did. These dragons are a nuisance, D'Angelo, and they only serve as a distraction from the real threat.
Only through the episode, D'Angelo tells his father he doesn't want that to happen, and he's friends to the choice his father was making. And halfway through, his father warms up to the idea by actually having screen time in the episode, which he bonds with a hobgobbler, who I've only realised have become bad omens to pets. And by the end, he sees the worth of his career choice, why dragons aren't a distraction, and to truly support his son's passion. The episode is basically a way of saying how a family member doesn't respect a career choice and thinks it doesn't reach their full potential, or doesn't have any worth. Which, for once, I will applaud the fucking writers, because they finally show an actual problem a lot of kids and teenagers grow up in households under parental guidance, while also using it where dragons are involved, but it's also focused on 2 real career paths that someone who's watching may follow or relate to. Essentially, kids shouldn't follow in their parents' footsteps. Instead, they should focus on what brings them joy, what they're truly passionate about, not what makes them unhappy and distant. While in comparison to another theme they did back in season 2, which was Alex and her anxiety, which she was afraid to perform in group presentations, which I can relate to because I've had to and will have to do more oral presentations. Only, instead of making it less dragon related, they make it so Alex has to overcome her fears by going through zombie feather wings to save her dragon, and a titan wing. But the best part is that they don't even show if the growth even affected her or helped her speak in an oral setting. They brush it off and never return to the concept, only that she's become more sassy and quick-witted to her friends. And it's also not a surprise, do they bother including any powers or gadgets they use in that episode. However, that's it. While it feels like the writers have finally written something better in comparison to their poorly executed anxiety episode, it does not qualify them as pristine writers in any episodes that had or may come after, as you'll see soon enough. As it took them 7 seasons to do something teens across the globe are affected by, and when they did something like that, it's taken them longer with something 7 seasons in the making. 7 seasons. It took 7 fucking seasons for Tom and June to start dating. Throughout the show, we've been reminded a few times that these two are destined to be together. They're the Hiccup and Astrid of our time. So how can they not be together, am I right? Season 1 established the relationship, Season 5 teased the relationship, and Season 6 teased the stronger feelings for the relationship, but it should not have taken this long for the main characters who are obviously going to be together to, actually get together. When you're writing a character and another character to be together, please make sure you do it right. In cases like Miraculous, it was their choice to conflate the story so much that it affected the relationship between the characters, because the movie is proof of that. For context, the characters have time to bond as both Merritt and Adrian and their counterparts. The love square is there, but is very brief and felt deserved to be there. And yes, I will take that opinion to the grave. Or Hell of a Boss, where it's written to be stretched out because one is emotionally broken and one has never felt love, and they learn to grow from each other and others. But in this show, it is quite literally a simple teen love story, only with dragons. Not something that needs to be revealed, never spoken of for like 3-4 seasons, teased, and finally executed after 7 seasons. They start dating after episode 2, where through the episode, where Tom is pressed by the others about his love for June, but he basically insults her by calling her weird. When he said it would be weird for him to be in a relationship with a childhood friend, which hurts her feelings and they have to work out their problems to fix it.
Oh, you took that the bad way, didn't you?
Which the future of their friendship becomes reliant on the dragons. Since, like most animals, they're emotional, and with the help of the wood chippers, I've just noticed how these newer dragons are more or less based on animals. You do realize it was cooler when you could tell it was a dragon, and they acted like an animal, not look entirely like them. But through the episode, they work through it since dragons are emotional creatures. Well, the wood chippers specifically in this instance. They're just woodchucks, basically except by these two.
They're like little woodchucks.
And he also thought the Omen stuff about breaking up was about them, and that's for later. And an example for a love story is in Lucifer. Spoilers ahead. Did you get to the timestamp already? Through the show, Lucifer and Decker have feelings for each other, but Lucifer is ignorant with his feelings. And when either has the courage to speak up, others in their life take action. When he's revealed to be the devil to Decker, she runs away, further straining their friendship and what their relationship would be. But also showing she still loves him because she tries to still work with him, even when she's scared and processing all of it. But she finds it hard to cope that supernatural beings exist, like how others who have discovered this fact react. And she eventually accepts it all and only fears that he may go away to hell again. Their characters who are both growing, Lucifer struggles to be good and wants to change, and Decker wants to accept him for who he is. They're slowly changing to become better people. So yeah, when you're writing a love story, for the love of God, don't stretch it out unless there's a good reason for it. Lucifer isn't a simple character in his show, so the love story has a reason to be expanded and explored. Miraculous added too much and it muddled most things up. If you're doing a passion project or planning to, look at this show and other shows that do this badly and do the opposite of what they did. Trust me, because the love interests in other shows have been done better.
You can web me up anytime, Petey.
Hey look, they took my advice for making a concurrent theme for a season so the characters grow as characters. Nah, I'm just kidding. Only because these episodes are made in advance, which is why they're so frequent and look so rushed. Now something I brought up last video was the show should focus on a theme for each season.
Previously on Experimental.
Because a theme in a season needs to be concurrent for a character to grow, not to be the same and only have an episode or 2 every season. Like in season 6, Tom was a bad leader for 2, maybe 3 episodes, which isn't really enough to grow a character, let alone have them have a character arc. But in this season, I'm glad they've decided to have an overarching character arc for the entire team of writers. Also, for the Tom parts, most of the episode where he was a bad leader, it wasn't focused on how it affects the team. Despite how much I hate this show, I am glad they decided to at least have an arc that affects a majority of the episode. Where in season 6, the bad leader thing was a few episodes that were separate from each other, rather than season 7 where the episodes show the impact of their isolation as a team. That's saying they could have had a better reason than all the characters going from cooperating, fighting a new dragon, to talking over each other selfishly in the next episode. And while I'm not saying that can't happen, the previous episode had everyone stacking on each other to get out, showing teamwork with no sign of straying for their own opinions and whatnot. The theme of the season basically shows how each are coping. Tom and June are together, so they're going on dates. D'Angelo is healing dragons. Eugene doesn't want to admit he wants the team even when forming a new team, with Alex tagging along, until she tries to be by herself to play with her AI friend in chess, with other members popping up and bugging her until she's ultimately captured. And by the end they work out their issues when stopping Buzzsaw with an upcoming creature, which is in the Dark Realm that has its own dragon sight that makes negative thoughts leak out more. Sort of like a truth serum. Even when in the episode before, Alex got the book back from Limit by making him think they were friends, which is another theme they introduced 5 seasons after his debut. No later, and no sooner.
Friend?
Friend?
I trusted you! Confided in you!
However, I'm not done, since I would say this counts towards this segment. While they made an arc for the characters, they somehow also retconned an entire theme, as what felt weird jumping into Season 7 was that Season 6 introduced the idea of trust between the parents and the kids. In the episode where Eugene and D'Angelo get stuck in a loading bay after being entrusted that the dragons wouldn't be brought to the surface, and when they borrow the diving bell, and it's a stretch to connect it with the episodes where they have to out Slinkin as the bad guy, as it's reliant on the kids and the trust their parents have in them considering her status. But in episode 7 where they sneak around a diving bell they lose, and they wanted to own up to their parents, could trust them and tell them about Leonard. But, of course, we all know that he attacks the town, only instead of having some battle where they kicked him back into the hidden world, or have a few episodes where he rules over Rake Town to be the king of dragons, since if he got rid of Rake Town, he would get rid of the entire team, since where are they going to live? Who are they going to tell? The government? They would have 2 seasons ago. However, they don't do any of that, and remember that trust stuff? Apparently a few weeks later is when season 7 is set in, and their parents are just fine with it all?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Leonard's back in the Ice Realm, Sledkin and Linda are out and about.
In fact, gone. Alone at last.
And Tom and June's mother are nowhere to be seen, and were only mentioned for exposition. Alex's apparently aren't affected, and the only time where trust may have been a factor for one of the actions was the entire reason why D'Angelo's dad is more focused on protecting the town, since he brings out Leonard multiple times, but they never actually say it, so...
Buzzsaw, the hatchet-wielding lunatic with a giant dragon who attacked the town a few weeks back? Buzzsaw.
So... yeah, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why they retconned an entire theme they were setting up, other than that they're incompetent writers or they're different each season. That could have been used for even an episode since they did it before, but I don't know. They could have given the parents actual screen time because I'm willing to bet 50% of them are more interesting than the main cast. And that's not saying much. When I was editing this, I had a little time to reflect on one of their characters that has even less screen time than any of the parents combined, D'Angelo's mother. To keep it brief, the reason I had said I'd forgotten about her in one of the other videos was because she's barely a character in the show. Let's see, she's supportive to her son, a teacher of sorts. Wait, did they even do learning in the show anymore? Disabled? Oh, nothing else? Shocker. And that trust between kids and their parents is a key part of love. If you lose that trust, then how can you trust parents with anything? And how can they trust you? Actions speak louder than words, and it seems like words fix those issues.
Come on, I'm her son. Of course she trusts me. Okay, it took a lot of convincing. And she probably trusts Thunder more than she trusts me.
Even when destroying a diving bell and lying about 3 dragon-taming humans roaming the realms. And if they had done it right, this could have been another great thing to tell the kids who like this show, instead of just outright getting rid of it.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
There's a couple new dragons, and as you can tell, I am really excited about them. The newest dragon looks so stupid. It's called a glass caster and looks like a goblin fucked a dragon. This was written before the end of the episode where they based it from a troll that can smelt glass. Its abilities are alright, but it's just a dragon that can shoot out hotter flames and echolocation. Nothing really special to it. They also bring back another dragon that has not evolved, aka the Typhumarang, where they're apparently doing some dance that endangers Rake Town. But on that, since that dragon is not afraid of eels, they finally did something original with the 9 realms, by adding on from the previous property, rather than doing the same thing again. Which is the main reason behind the title, giving a reason as to why eels are a dragon's weakness, or at least why they're afraid of them. Since it was really only speculation as to why, poisons, chemicals, stuff like that, but at least they're trying something new by introducing the world serpent, whose mythological name I will not even attempt. He is locked away behind a cage that is specifically built for anyone who possesses a nightlight, or rather the retractable teeth of one, which was constructed by Hiccup, who has finally returned back to the story, or so it seems.
How do you know for sure Hiccup did it?
Who else could it have been, Eugene?
I don't know. One of my awesome distant relatives?
Released it fucking eats the Sky Torture with the most graphic audio. I'm actually surprised this kid show allowed this. The other key part is that this is an actual Norse mythological creature, and surprisingly an old dragon they've ripped off or taken. But that's all we can see during the finale, with it going to Raketown, as it finally feels like the ending of the show is coming closer. And I'm hoping by next season, because it feels like it's edging towards that considering the ending. Right, I remember, they don't kill dragons in this show. I bet the Sky Torture is alive, and then I bet the snake's going to escape and go into the realms.
Come on, guys, before the Sky Torture comes back!
Flashback.
Most likely not, because a few of my other theories haven't come true, but the show doesn't kill dragons, so while the giant dragon-eating snake, 2 more rounds to explore, and sorry, I mean 1 realm. They said 2 rounds in a previous episode, meaning there's only 1 realm left, and that actually limits it down, so I think this might be the last season. I'm hoping. Please. And the dreary end credits music. Though I'm not sure, as I feel like they're somehow going to stretch the story even further with other things they've left unexplored. And the world serpent going towards Breakdown, the characters breaking up and getting back together, the remaining 2 rounds left, so they may actually do something with that, but they also need to explain what dragons are in the giant realm, because the mystery of how big those dragons are is better than the other stuff.
Did you notice any unusual creatures after today's quake?
Just you?
Why are you so big?
I'm from the 8th planet in the Kreplach system where... I'm from Samoa.
Well, all right.
Oh, well, now we know.
As well as June and Mate's relationship, if Hiccup is actually the one leaving artifacts, and if Eugene and June will become siblings again. And with the new dragons all listed out, let's mention the old dragons that for some reason in episode 3 turned into the biggest group of pussies in How to Train Your Dragon history. In one episode, they surround the Timberjack dragon, and in the next, they're carrying like children against the Glasscaster, which is a singular fire breather and echolocation dragon. Which for starters, they have faced tons of dragons varying in size and powers, and for some reason, instead of just going through with the dragon alpha stuff from last season, they decide, hey, let's just have fun to collect the dragons and that will make them not be pussies. Which worked. See what I meant by they introduce something but don't go through with it until a season or 2 has passed? This is what I meant. Actually, I have more to say, and I forgot to add on to it, so... Another part of why I said they should have done the alpha stuff was because the episode revolves around Thunder keeping the dragons together, and how none of them listened to him. So Tom asked him to keep them together while they are captured. But again, why would they cower like this? I'd say it's because they're domesticated, but in the episode, they also say he's a wild animal, so it's never explicitly said or even implied enough where even an adult can infer what's happening. Because when I look at them running away despite all the seasons I've watched, I think worse dragons since Rescue Riders. If they're going to introduce a plot point that the franchise has already done, they may as well just go through with it. It hasn't stopped them before, and it doesn't now. And still, I can't believe they finally acknowledge Norse mythology after 7 seasons. Which is why the show is called The 9 Realms, because of Norse mythology. Did you know it took them 7 seasons? However, I may be reading it wrong here, but Didn't they call the realms realms before they established it had anything to do with the 9 realms? Seeing Norse mythology mixed in feels really lazy looking back. They don't really delve into the 9 realms or Norse mythology or the Norse mythological aspect at all with lore or dragons. Like, it's bad enough they were using lazy ripoffs of the originals, but I don't know why they didn't just make it about the show's theme. Imagine if they used Norse mythology as a source for designing newer dragons. Imagine a 9-realm version of the current roster. They would have felt so much more original. So I'm only realizing that what I said may sound a little odd with this part. When I mean they're finally using Norse mythology, or should use it to design the characters, while the films and series used Norse mythology, it was really just for the idea of dragons and Vikings and some mentions of mythology such as Thor, and I think even Odin a couple times. But the series supposedly shows a more understanding of the concept, but they do so little with it. As in the 9 realms, there is such a thing as the 9 realms. I'm not sure if the structure June says is real or not because I don't know how to begin spelling that.
Spartal fame from Norse mythology.
But the trolls are real. Let's talk about the animation, and what a surprise, 7 seasons later the animation hasn't even improved. At some point there were some really good expressions which reminded me of the time where Transformers Prime would sometimes give the characters really expressive movements, and so they decided to give some weirdly well expressions for one of its worst designed characters.
What's his name?
Hobbs. I'm gonna build him a perch on top of the big dome so he can be our lookout dragon.
God, he looks worse naked. They also have Thunder, a chance to dance to cause a distraction with music that doesn't match up with that fair budget they have for each season. And there was the credits, which was funnier than the jokes. Wait. Does the show do jokes anymore? Oh yeah, they had that one voice recording thing in episode 3.
Are you crazy?
I originally didn't like, but was unexpected and actually funny for once.
Are you crazy?
Wait, I'm just gonna record this so I can play it back on perpetual loop.
Are you crazy? Are you crazy?
Good on you for actually making me laugh for once to this show, 9 Realm Riders. Oh, and they forgot to add the laughing for episode 6. But essentially the main drive for this segment was that for each season there's concept art I've touched upon in the past which shows better stylized characters and dragons. They were so lazy they weren't bothered adding new images of concept art to their fucking credits. And there is no way there wasn't concept art because there's a giant snake, a dragon troll, the group of enemies teaming up and more. And yet there wasn't enough concept art for the credits? What the fuck is wrong with his eyes in this scene?
None of your vegan beeswax, Missy.
Boss, I don't think beeswax is vegan.
Of course it is. Insects don't count as animals. The point is, I'm not saying anything to a no-good dragon rider.
To end this off quickly, in Season 6, Leonard finally got the Dragon Book from Tom, which in Season 7 allowed him to create crossbows and catapults, and found the world snake. And even after losing the book, due to the team up between Slaken and Leonard, she has a photo of its contents. But why does he bother using crossbows and old-fashioned weapons? Why not just bring actual guns and shoot the dragons down? I can understand the poison darts, that's actually something useful, but come on, if small darts can pierce a dragon's skin, I'm willing to bet metal bullets can as well.
I swear I'll try my best.
For once, I will admit that Dragons of 9 Realms for once feels like it's something original, while also incorporating old elements to make something new, which is what a spin-off show should do. Take Fiona and Cake, they're a spin-off and yet they use the original Adventure Time elements and lore, but that doesn't mean the 9 Realms is redeemed. The show only used Norse mythology to name areas of interest, and they never used Norse mythology to make new dragons or change older dragons, besides the Glasscaster. Because through the show, they only plainly used older stuff to retell the same story. Who's leaving all the objects? What's the connection between Fun and Tom? But now they've used Hiccup and told something we haven't heard of, something he's done or made yet. Again, like I said, don't watch the show. Here's shows I'd better recommend. Spirit out.
Come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
the entire hidden world is at risk.
All this will be lost.
They're gonna fucking die. They're gonna die.
Hello Spirits, finales of shows are often a spectacular event to feel once in a lifetime. Sometimes shows can be robbed of this moment due to the incompetence of a couple people, Disney, Netflix. But imagine a show you've watched for years is ending, and all, if not most, plot points are all wrapped up. Characters have grown since their debut, etc. And the show will always remain as a gem to most as the years roll by. However, what if the case is with a show you hate? Well, that's the case for me, at least, with The Nine Realms. Because I have hate watched this show the moment I saw the trailer. It was my first ever review video where I said it was going to be a one-time thing. Clearly things changed. And as much as I hate the very existence of the Nine Realms, it did help me continue my career here on YouTube. It obviously wasn't enough to go full time, but I can at least take it slow and steadily as others begin to watch my videos and enjoy what I make. And to all of those who stuck by to watch my videos, thank you. You don't know how much it means to me to have people actually enjoy my content that I put effort into. And not just some still images of the Captain Underpants movie with the song over which got 1,000 views. Yeah, if you managed to find that video, that was most likely from me. And with all that, guess what? It's finally here. The final season of Dragons of the Nine Realms. And an end to the chapter of reviewing this shit show. Well, for now. Weird they ended at 8 seasons though and not 9, but I'm not complaining. Though surprisingly I wasn't far off from my initial video talking about it. However, the ending to this show was pretty bad. Like, for an ending to a show, this was a pretty bad way to do it. For a little taste of what's to come, they still have a legitimate filler episode in every way it is. You're gonna hear all my thoughts on that, but oh my god, is it bad? So without further ado, Dragons of the Nine Realms Season 8, an underwhelmed end. Welcome to another episode of introducing things never seen before. My name is Spirit, on the channel you're watching, and I'm here to show you the most dumbest, the most stupidest, the most mind-boggling things you've ever laid your eyes upon. Trust me when I say that this gives me brain damage. The main problem with this show is that not only did the creators of the show manage to make it so anything that Hiccup touches is destroyed, his helmet, peg leg, and the book that got fucking stolen, but they managed to also disrespect his mother, Valka, by destroying her staff. And here's the best part. The staff was used for only one episode before it was destroyed.
Man, this is priceless!
During episode 1, Jormungandr escapes and Tom has to figure out how to defeat him. And can I say I'm glad they didn't brush this thing off as a one episode dragon. And they actually fell along the way throughout the season. But that's for the end. Anyways, he begins to train using the staff, which, might I add, he trains without any information? And all of that just because Hiccup lured Jormungandr with it into the cage it was originally being held. I also should note that a commenter on my last video said this was a disrespectful thing to include, and this was also a point Razorblade had brought up. I wasn't going to include it since it's not my point to make, and the examples they used were unfamiliar to me. Until I remember one of my own. Since Hiccup would always let dragons free even if they were dangerous or untrainable, truthfully I can only remember a handful of episodes from the original and Dragon Edge series, but one I remember briefly enough was the Skuldrin episode. Where the dragon riders have to heal his wing while Ruffnut bonds with what she calls its Scoldy. And keep in mind, this is a dragon that shoots boiling poisonous water, and by the end they free him and they've bonded. I don't know if they ever return, but that's something that's going to be a surprise for me later on. Future Spirit here. So I was originally just going to cut it there. I thought I'd just shove in a few of the clips from the episode, because, you know, it's actual comedy and not whatever the Nine Realms is.
Cauldron and boiling poisonous death that way. Change wings and acid spitting invisible death that way.
What is it about her hair that the dragon likes so much?
Maybe it's the color of its mother's hair. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Sorry, I'm still terrified from what just almost happened.
But this time, reach out your hand. Like this. Ah! Coming in hot! Well, this can't be good news.
I don't understand women.
But remembering that now, yeah, they really did fuck up Hiccup's character more than they originally thought.
We have to help him.
But back on topic, he trains with it until he uses it to lead dragons out of the realm where Jormungandr is attacking, in which he uses it on him, only for it to be eaten after messing it up once he reaches the cage that Hiccup put him in. And like, why even bring Valka's staff into the mix if its sole purpose was going to provide only context to how he got stuffed into a cage by a character who wouldn't do that? They may as well have said that they knocked it out or did something that didn't include the useless fucking staff. And I haven't even started yet.
Ooh, listen to the sounds of the staff. Mystical, magical, dragonful.
Because you know how through the show they set up June as this weirdo that likes astrology, the myths/fables and tarot cards. The same cards they only ever make an appearance was the first episode of the first season to provide a, wedging point last season. Well, they introduced another part of her they only introduced in the first episode. And only that episode for a reason I can't even comprehend. Which is a crystal that she gives Tom which calms his nerves down. Only she's never used a crystal like this prior. And the only purpose that it fulfills is to calm Tom down enough as he uses the staff. That's it really. However, there's also the issue of Leonard in which he has a change of heart. For some reason. And his entire arc is fixed in one episode. I feel like this is a similar issue like they did in Toy Story, in which they gave the villain next to nothing to build up to the fact that they should be redeemed. Now, through the show, I've shown my distaste for Leonard because he's a Dagger ripoff, and that's more apparent now. But he's been the villain with nothing prior that sets up his character that he shows a change of heart.
How do you expect me to build an empire of dragon goods, like boots and dragon tooth jewelry, if I rest on the laurels of enough?
Especially since the previous season hadn't released fucking Jormungandr! But let me put this into perspective. In episode 3, they begin preparing to attack Jormungandr by freezing him with Speed Stinger Serum. Only this is interrupted as Leonard attacks Tom, and the last we see of him is being chased by the big snake. And then in episode 4, he goes to the writers for help since Jack is hurt by Jormungandr, which sets up his redemption because in episode 6, an entire episode after 4, he shows up. Oh yeah, not in 5. We don't need him in episode 5. It has to be a surprise that he helps the writers. Because he has exactly 14 seconds and 14 frames of screen time. It's also treated as a cinematic moment.
Bus time, Jack!
Thought you middle schoolers could use some help. Go. I got this.
Before he disappears indefinitely. And he doesn't get an end credit card either. I don't know how the creators managed to make this worse than Gabby Gabby, but they did. And it's made worse that they only redeem his character because Jack was hurt. The same dragon he enslaved used noises to capture it and control him multiple times, even after he was freed originally, and proceeded to use him to hurt other dragons. That is quite literally an abusive relationship to have. Like Leonard abuses and manipulates him. Jack really should have been given a better chance, and overall Leonard should not have gotten any sort of redemption. Because the other villain at worst harmed a few dragons looking for dragon sites. And then finally we have the God's Realm, which is said to be the place where the oxygen for the 9 realms is the central point. Only they introduce us to this in season 8. The final season. They mentioned the God's Realm in the previous season, but it's just disappointing they didn't bother setting it up properly before. Because it's the setup for Ragnarok, the fucking 2-parter finale in the season. And it's, well, if the snake removes or destroys the gem, all of the realms lose oxygen, like it did in episode 4. And you'd think that the realms where Dragonsight is the most crucial part of the realms, the life force of it, you'd think they'd focus more on it. And I've only just noticed why is the blatantly obvious and original Norse-inspired dragons used in the last 2 seasons. But the rest from previous shows are still there. Why bother calling it the 9 realms at that point? Already have they included so many things that just came out of fucking nowhere. And it really seems like they just half-assed everything, especially in the final season. Or at the very least, doing it off the top of their heads. And with my next point, you'll know why this show is even worse than before. I wanted to include this segment because when I went through concept art for something I'll discuss in a few minutes, I also stumbled upon the promo material that they use for Instagram and it makes me cringe. But oh my god, they did it! They added seasonal concept art back to the credits! Only it's season 7 art. Wow. That's just... wow.
Well, that's just lazy.
There's not even season 8 concept art, by the way. The last episode has a bunch of art showing the lives of the characters after the events of the 9 realms, but no season 8 art. It's stupid enough they didn't bother to add concept art for the previous season, but to add a previous season's art to the newest season without even including the newest season's art is so goddamn sad. But there was something I mentioned in a previous video that only pisses me off more. As I said, Leonard already, when he was first introduced, was the most blatantly obvious clone they added to the show. It was bad enough fans and antis guessed that Tom and Thunder were descendants from the trailer, only to later be confirmed by the end of season 1. But they added a character who used a sharp object as their name, which resembled what their career initially was. Dagger was a Viking, so he's going to use swords, daggers, and other weaponry. This is the only time I will mention this stupid name, but Buzzsaw had a lumberjack company, and I'm only now just realizing why they gave Buzzsaw the Timberjack Dragon. But he used tree cutting tools and such to cut down trees, only they made him weak and limp like Dagger. Then to have a change at some point where his design changes to make him look more buff and grown. But the original design for Buzzsaw, remember the buff dude? And get this, apparently that design was either a stylistic choice by whoever the artist was, or it was the initial design Buzzsaw would have had, which is a much better design than what we got. My review in season 5 basically explains it. Now from this drawing, I can tell how much of a better character he would have been. Currently, Leonard stands on the edge of being a dumb and yet also a smart character, who in season 5 looks like a short-haired moist critical.
He's pulling his cock out!
Hence the thumbnail. He can make a dragon controlling and luring flute or piccolo, ceramic tea sets, ice cages, and yet both parties get outsmarted by each other constantly. But in this piece of art, he looks big, fierce, smart, calculated, and doesn't look like some fucking idiot. Unlike this miss of an antagonist. However, I want to tilt the light to the entirety of the concept art. Now, with the amount of episodes that were produced at a time, this being a couple months or so, it means artists had to animate scenes, and scenes had to come from scripts, and scripts had to come from concepts. So that means this design for Leonard quite possibly dates back as far as 2021, or even earlier depending on whenever production started, and yet they scrap all of that for the most basic of designs that have next to nothing unique to say about them. And it just pisses me off so much. Yeah, the story wouldn't have changed, but at least the direction of the characters would have shown originality. When I see all of this concept art, you'd think that the show would look so pretty and unique, but it just doesn't come off that way or translate well. Take the Crystal Tower. The concept art looks so bright and pretty, but then in 3D it feels so small and isolated. And then with the dragons, you'd think a dragon called the Mist Twister would have had some sort of twist element. Not a two-headed dragon that sprays out 2 different forms of ice/fire power. God damn it, I think I may need to make a video in the future redesigning and retelling the story differently with 8 seasons ingrained into my head. But it's about time I roll the... By the way, the finale was not filler. I mean, kind of. I just like the name for it and it fits so. But this isn't a joke. There is filler in the final season and for the life of me, I can't figure out why. Like, it's the definition of what filler is because it doesn't offer anything that affects the plot. And this episode is well, episode 2. During the episode, the characters set up a sort of dragon foster situation with how Jormungandr is attacking the realm in the previous episode. And this episode has only one element from the plot that affects the story later on. Only Mr. Rake, the founder of the Icarus Project, pays a visit, and everyone has to hide their dragons. That's the sum of it. Let's see, they don't have Rake discover the dragons, or in a way that lets him in on it. They just show him around with various dragons hiding around the place. It's actually the worst episode in the series by far, and that's including the episodes where Hiccup's shit is often destroyed. Because why even bother setting up Mr. Rake for one episode only in the final season? Why not before? Why ever? I don't even think fans of the show were wondering who the fuck Mr. Rake was, because I sure as hell didn't care who set up the project. And it seems the creators didn't either, because he had no impact towards literally anything. And it's so sad they did this whole thing, because I just know that they knew a fostering situation was boring, but did it anyway. Because all they had to do was bond dragons with original characters? Have you seen the series? They clearly can't do it. And they shouldn't have done it since it was in the final season. If they wanted to do something like this, it should have been earlier on. Season 6 was literally there, where the dragons were escaping and causing issues in Rake Town. There was an entire episode dedicated to it. The first episode of Season 6 as well. And yet, no one in the show thought that at least even one of those dragons could have been tamed? But do you want to know what this episode was actually being used for? It was used to set up Sledkin for wanting to find the dragon sight gem that she's obsessed with just so she can be a big name in the scientist community, where it's only in the opening and ending of the episode. No, nothing in the middle or even a brief moment where she's on screen of her struggling to find it or anything. That was the entire purpose of the episode. Kind of reminds me when they tried pulling this shit with May and June, trying to mend their relationship at the start and end. And the only other thing that there was one of the side characters bonds with a speed stinger, which is later used for the stinger serum.
Oh, I like that one. Sleek, aerodynamic. Oh, that one is a little fast. Love his spirit. Look at him go! And to add insult to injury, this is how I knew this was filler, because in the previous episode, Tom and June had broken up since Tom does what he wants, which apparently he still does after an entire show later. Buddy, it's been 8 seasons. You've got to have learned something by now. But here's the kicker. They don't mention their relationship. They don't have awkward moments. They're talking like normal human beings. Friends. Oh, come on, Spirit. You're just exaggerating. They're teenagers who had a small fling. You're right. I'm sorry. Only in the next episode, they're acting anxious, embarrassed, and unsure what to do because they broke up.
I want no part of this post-relationship awkward sandwich.
It's not an awkward sandwich. It's a regular sandwich. It's only awkward if there are just 2 ingredients, because one sandwich just has 2 ingredients.
There was none of that in the episode before. If Jormungandr wasn't mentioned in episode 2, I would have actually thought the episode had been forgotten to be put into a different season, because the episode is there just to do nothing.
Oh no!
Cullerson, you killed Rake!
When you do filler, it should be early on, or in an anime where filler is an endless show is kind of inevitable. Not when you're doing it during a final season where it's become a more story-centered show, and the final boss is here. That's not how you do things, because in the end, it just makes it look worse than it already was. Now, with around 8 seasons under its belt, a story planned as far back as possibly 2020 or earlier, but the show seems to have a big problem with payoffs. Payoffs are when something is first introduced that has some importance later on, such as when Marvel uses throwaway lines from a previous film.
Don't say it. Don't you say it. Left. Come on!
On your left.
But with that, then you have the Dragon Alpha stuff, which returns, and The design for it is so shit, it's incredible. Now it's clear they tried to be more original with this aspect because the Dragon Alpha power was never introduced as something that was just given away like an heirloom. In the original films, they had to challenge an Alpha for that power, for that control. But then you have its design, and I'm gonna tell you now, the reason the blue works with Toothless despite his green eyes, because he didn't look like he was a goddamn blacklight. The black and blue contrasted along his spine and made it look badass. However, unlike how the previous season, which didn't touch upon the Dragon Alpha stuff, I don't know how they managed to fuck it up this badly. But in Season 2, we were introduced to Thunder's family, right? Actually, Spirit, we were introduced to the idea of the family in Season 2. They made an appearance in Season 4. Well, there's a problem with that links back to first introducing things, which is that the grandfather, the leader that protects the family, but more importantly, the Alpha, is only in one other season that isn't Season 8, Season fucking 4. His debut! They show this power in a dragon that's only showed up one other time, only for him to die the very same episode he uses the power! It just... Chaos don't work like this. They should have given the Alpha more appearances, more screen time. Slowly introduce the power to, or watch how he defends his home. Not introduce a power in the same episode he dies, and proceeds to transfer it to Thunder. And to the people who defend this show, this is the show you're defending? This is what you're sticking with? If they wanted to do a payoff, they could have looked at the Owl House. Spoilers ahead. During the show, we're shown subtle hints that Hunter isn't like the other witches, such as having to rely on artificial magic because he's a powerless witch, or that he can talk to Flapjack while other witches can't understand their talisman. And in the episode Hollow Mind, it becomes clear on what Hunter is. A Grimwalker. Only just like us, the audience, we were in the dark to what it truly means. He inevitably runs away from the Emperor because he finds out he's the one who's killed the other guards throughout history, or from his perspective, his family. And from what I remember, there was also other clues and theories before Hollow Mind, but it was over a year old, so... And eventually all of that pays off with Flapjack sacrificing himself when Hunter is badly hurt. We know that Talisman and Grimwalkers have a sort of different connection than witches do, so seeing as Flapjack's life force is transferred to him feels natural. And the times where it's alluded such foreshadow that Bellis would kill Flapjack, they had things set up during Season 2 for when the time came for Flapjack's death in Season 3. That's payoff. They didn't just introduce the Golden Guard, play Hollow Mind the very next episode and say he's a Grimwalker, they built up to it, and didn't show that the characters had a full grasp on what a Grimwalker meant. Oh, but the issue doesn't stop there, because why is it not too surprising they decided to add drama between Tom and June's relationship the season after they get together? As I mentioned before, their relationship ended, but they could have done literally anything in the relationship to mend it. Should conflict be included in a relationship to build them stronger? Yeah, because it gives them time to bond even further in a new status of relationship they haven't before. Sometimes we see how characters' friendship bounce off each other before taking the next step. This show is basically just telling us that the relationship should have been much earlier in the show, and again, they set up the relationship for 3 seasons. Seasons 5 through 7 before finally executing it, only to break them up in episode 1 of the 8th season. Why did they make relationships basically endgame in a show that has 8 seasons? While shows with 2 or 3 seasons with the same or less than amount of episodes in total set them up earlier. Who the hell is going to give a fuck about a relationship between 2 characters who have 13 episodes left in total? Less even when they don't have those moments that give you those shipping compilation videos. But this one is a sort of 2-part complaint with the show. To go back to Valka's staff, ignoring all the training and what he'd do it, and what he'd end up doing to it, the staff did not need to be included if the payoff was next to nothing, as through the series they've only ever mentioned Hiccup, never Valka or Astrid until Season 8. And they never even mention Hiccup's kids. They never set up Valka in a meaningful way that her staff could possibly be intact after all this time. Tom looked through a book and found the staff within a few minutes. No setup, no build-up, not even a payoff since the staff was useless due to the dragon being more intelligent than other creatures. and yet they never consider at least trying to have a conversation with the dragon that plans ahead? Why even bother setting up a dragon that can be hypnotized by a staff only to show that it's intelligent but not open to negotiation? I'm sorry, did they forget about the barrel monkey dragons they set up prior? Which shows that they were smart enough to understand negotiation? Bullshit. But something small that didn't have any worth to it was that Winston and Ford finally considered to being taken back to civilization, even if they'd have to turn themselves in. But instead of initially asking the riders to help them, they only do it when they steal the crossbow, because Leonard will kill them for it? Right. Yeah, Leonard getting mad wouldn't have happened before they were kidnapped. Oh my god, there's actually something in this section where they have a decent payoff. Something that they had some worth, and it's something they set up in a previous season? Which is that they used the speed stinger D'Angelo saved in the previous season, and then used its venom to strike Jormungandr? With the crossbow that Leonard had also used in the previous season? Whoa, aren't they finally smart? Only for this instance. And yeah, the plan didn't work because Leonard stopped that, but and I appreciate they didn't just waste the opportunity to use a trained speed stinger. Sucks he was associated with the character Pete, who is one of the background characters who I don't think does anything noteworthy throughout the entirety of the show. I honestly never knew he was a character. But I like their dynamic because you don't see speed stingers trained, even by Hiccup. It's one of the few nice things I appreciate because they don't butcher them, they're fast, they're deadly. However, the relationship the two share was only an episode long, and it was during the filler episode. But they did have a few scenes where they were milking him, but again, stuff like this feels so short or small, like...
Jerry is so small. How's he gonna be able to stop that monster?
We're gonna milk him!
Everyone knowing Dragon should have been earlier to include more of these stories. You have D'Angelo's dad accepting his career with one season left to go, Pete getting a dragon in the final season, and much more. And that's the general gist of it. This only proves that they don't know how to handle the tension and tone of the series, which is actually the next topic. Tension in shows is crucial to the plot if your story is supposed to have stakes in it. Without those stakes, you just know that the hero will come out on top, unscathed. This can be shows like The Owl House, Helver Boss, where you need to know that there's stakes. Most often it can be the body language, expressions, or voice acting of the character. The Nine Realms doesn't know what tone it wants to set. As I said earlier with the Dragon Alpha stuff, I mentioned that the Elder died, and there's a little issue with that. No other dragon dies but him. Yeah, in 8 seasons they never kill a dragon, and that would be fine, but there's something I left out. During the final showdown between Jormungandr, the Elder dies when using his Alpha mode to attack the big snake. Only, get this, he dies. And Thunder gets transferred the power. And a few minutes later, he arrives with the 2 big dragons of the series, the Fault Ripper and Sky Torcher. And that's my last straw. For context, in the finale of Season 7 where Jormungandr was freed, he took the Sky Torcher with him. And despite the fact that he is a dragon-eating snake, he apparently was said to be alive 26 seconds into the episode.
It's literally supposed to bring the end of the world.
Which is why we have to get it back behind that gate. Remember, it nearly killed the Sky Torcher.
And when we actually see him, it's in episode 6, where he's left with only puncture marks, scars, and some tears in the wings. What? Again, dragon-eating snake, chomping noises. And yet he didn't eat this dragon? The dragon who tried taking over the realms multiple times, attacks the crew on multiple occasions, and even in a defeated state, still attacks them! He's the one that gets a crap redemption arc because Thunder lazily got the Alpha ability? And that just shows us that they won't kill dragons in the show, even if it's not by their hands. Because now, looking back, I'm fine with the Fault Ripper not dying, getting a redemption on all that, because all he did was tunnel with no malicious intent behind it. But why does the Elder, who appears in 1 or 2 episodes in the 4th season, just die? The good dragon. Oh, are we supposed to feel emotional? To feel for Thunder's loss? About a dragon who hasn't made any appearances since Season 4? A dragon that was only used to pass his Alpha ability to Thunder? And that's exactly my problem. If they want to kill dragons, they should do it to the ones that deserve to die, or were set up to have an emotional impact to die. Flapjack in the Owl House was in multiple episodes, had significance to who he was connected to, and died saving Hunter. Ellie and Carl from Up showed a small brief of their childhood and the life they had. Or how about this one, from the same franchise? In How to Train Your Dragon 1, Hiccup and Stoic made up in the first film, and during the second film, Hiccup needs to learn to become a leader, but Toothless is under mind control he's ordered to kill Hiccup. Only Stoic takes the entire blast. There's no scars, there's no jokes, no bullshit moment. He's mad at Drago, but directs it towards Stoic's killer, Toothless. They treat his death as serious because that's what it is. Because Hiccup needs to step up as Berg's new leader. That theme is built up and has an emotional moment because we had almost 2 films with Stoic flawed, then accepting his faults, and then showing his development since the first film. Killing off someone close to another needs to have impact. That did. The 9 Realms didn't. There's no stakes in the series because they never show scars, wounds, something to show that they can actually be in danger. And the only time where either is present was in Plowhorn Rise with her scarred eye, and in the second last episode with the Elder and Sky Torture having puncture wounds. They don't know what dragons to kill, but are fine with killing dragons that only made one other appearance. The main overall reason they kill the tension is that the deaths they end up doing don't stick in the show. Now, I'd be fine with the fact if they didn't because the original properties never killed off dragons. Only, if you imply that the fact that the dragons die not once, but 2 times, both are villainous dragons and both don't die, only to end up hurt? Then again, how am I supposed to know if something is actually dead? Because when I watched the Elder die, I simply didn't believe that happened because no other dragon in the show has ended up at the very least hurt. And when Sletkin dies earlier on, yes, actually dies, I don't believe it because the Sky Torture got hit and the Fault River hit the bottom of the fissure. They never showed anything like it before, and even with the threats that sometimes characters would say, like everyone will die if they use the elevator, considering what little they do, only to use a different way. And it doesn't even end there, as we're unsure of what actually happened with Jormungandr. Did he die? Nah. Was he put back in jail? Maybe. Actually, they have killed off dragons before. In the past 2 seasons, I'd hoped that they would reveal those big dragons since they had nothing to offer. But apparently in that episode, 2 Death Grippers flew into the air and were eaten by them. And for some reason, I just completely missed this part of the episode. I think I may need to rewatch everything if that's the case. But it only further insinuates that the writers are willing to kill dragons even if it's off screen with crunch noises, but only the dragons they need for that badass ending. But in a case like the Nightlight Elder surviving the first time around, it was clever because it contributed to Jormungandr tricking them, while the Sky Torture was nabbed and it just felt like utter bullshit. But the show doesn't know what it wants the tone to be. It wants to be a kids show that has death, but executes it poorly. Films and shows that have death in it, most of the time will mean something or have an outcome for it. They have that, they just only introduce it in the same episode. And then there's the tone set for Tom. Through the past couple seasons, they set Tom as a flawed character. Despite his experiences, he apparently doesn't change not once through the show. And that was only further heightened with the Hiccup legend he was living up to. As I have said countless times, the mystery between Tom and Hiccup was really obvious. And not something that needed to be done. Because a character and learning about their ancestor to grow from them could be well done. But it's Hiccup. His story has already been told in multiple films, TV shows and specials. It was enough time we've had for Hiccup and need to focus on a new generation while not holding too close to them. But this season, each of the times that isn't filler, Tom loses each and every time. Tom did what he wanted and got his relationship broken. Missed the arrow to sting Jormungandr, watched an adult die to greed and gets outsmarted by Jormungandr. And honestly, I'm going to commend the writers, creator, someone, because seeing each loss dish out did something interesting to the character to make him grow differently than Hiccup did. There's actual stakes involved in the show that isn't death or wounds. Tom will lose the dragons and the dragons will lose their home, and he won't have anything else. Only! They kind of ruined this by saying that Tom is more like Astrid. And just... No, he should be himself. He tried to be Hiccup and failed, but when he was himself, he won. He wasn't Astrid because they never mention Astrid until that moment.
Maybe you were never meant to be Hiccup because you're Astrid.
This whole time, I've been trying to be something I'm not.
And now it's time to embrace what you are.
But then again, I do have an entire segment dedicated to just that. It's funny really, because in the opening to the first episode of first season, you know what, I'll just play it.
But I've got a dragon story you haven't heard. A story that really happened. And this story, this one is my absolute favorite. Because this story is mine.
Maybe you were never meant to be Hiccup because you're Astrid.
Boo! You suck!
Funny how they say it's a new story, and yet they treat a lot of the same characters, elements, and such to make it a joke. Tom should have tried to learn what the others did, but do it differently. Do new things. Not repeating the same things that have molded these characters into who they are to us. I honestly thought the writers had learned to make Tom a character of his own, but instead they circle back from the husband to the wife. Do I need to bring out Spider-Verse and Miles again? I will. I swear to God, I will bring it up. I will repeat it again and again if I have to. It just disappoints me so much that they did this, because the writers are just saying that Tom isn't any different to his ancestors. He has nothing original to him, and for some reason, that still motivates him because he's more like Astrid when he should be his own person. However, there's finally the end. Woo! We're finally here! And the ending sucked absolute dick. After Jormungandr dies, sent to jail, whatever, the show basically ends the same way the films did, which was the dragons and humans can't live amongst each other, because others will always try to do what the villains in the series did, and it's the same message in the film. It was just a retelling with different events. The dragons showed that they want the humans to live apart because of the actions of others, which is what had happened with Toothless showing Hiccup and him understanding immediately. While the ending to that film isn't perfect, it's flawed, granted, the ending is still an emotional piece with how much has happened after all those years. Dragons: The Nine Realms doesn't have that, because we're not even sure what the timeline of this show is. It lasted 8 seasons, sure, but none of the characters aged, and so this must have been within a year, while we grew up with Hiccup and all the other dragons for years and years. And by the end of the film's ending, what happens is that Hiccup says,
"Our world doesn't deserve you. Yet."
So in a show set in the future, 1,300 years into future, I'm guessing people still don't deserve to have dragons still?
Because dragons figured out what we've known from the start. The world can't be trusted to know about them.
Just look at how close we came to Ragnarok because of one man's obsession with the world serpent.
And even though Buzzsaw came around, there are far too many Slutkins out there.
But what's the point of this show if dragons don't deserve to be with humans? This could have been an amazing show if DreamWorks would just put effort into it. And while that would be the end, as I said with the concept art, the credits showed that the current status of each of the characters. Tom and June are on dates, D'Angelo is a vet helping animals, Eugene had to go with Tom and June since their mothers are working together, is friends with Alex, the characters talk over on call what Alex called the 10th realm, and then the dragons are hanging out still, only most of them have baby dragons and I don't want to say it. But the ending really was underwhelming because the conflict ended halfway through the episode. Tom and June get back together, they repeat the film's ending and then they say their goodbyes. An ending I'd much prefer that cuts the ties off the characters they grew up with was Amphibia, which had an ending that Anne had to say goodbye to the friends and family she made, especially Sasha and Marcy. They had characters who didn't deserve redemption but still got their goodbye. The ending wrapped up the story and what most characters are doing now, but the ending to the Nine Realms? Some characters didn't even have screen time to show where they are. There's really nothing much to it. This season sucked. Like, it just sucked. There's no other word for it. Eventually, I do want to make an entire review that just won't be a compilation or even a video about the fault of the show. Or even how I'd make the series instead of making it a modern DreamWorks cash grab. And that's all I can really say. The show overall wasn't anything remarkable. It was horrible, actually. It destroyed the characters of the previous property, cloned most of the cast, told the same fucking stories, couldn't do the simplest of themes, introduced new significant things in the same season, and if you want to watch the show, I can't stop you, but keep in mind that it's 19 hours of your life to watch, while you could watch how the original tale was better. Anyways, with that all done, Spirit out. Hey there, thank you for making it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the almost 3-hour compilation, but anyways, don't expect a whole lot of these compilations unless they're independent season reviews, which may be the case for Hazbin Hotel. Anyways, with that all said and done, Spirit out.